Welcome back to MagusintheMedia, and we have quite a great one in this fine evening. It is April 27th, it is Monday, it is the Moon's Day, and we have to make some pardonances for the strange world that we live within, because sometimes it's really hard to see our hand from our face and the forest from the trees. And so what's really important to understand is in the name, gurus, charlatans, and false teachers, master your own path. We are truly getting to the idea of what are all the stories of the hero's journey in this mythos that we play. What are they all pointing towards? Because upon our journey, we're going to be coming across many different faces on this fine pathway, and we just have to understand the different faces that come along, the tricksters and the chameleons and the shapeshifters. But the only way to really do that is to be able to look within and understand that most of these things must be resolved within before we can understand them without. And to do such a fine task, I have the great Jin the Ninja of Threshold Saints in the Grey Lodge. What's up, Jin?
What the fuck is up, Brandon? So I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much. This is episode, I think it's 5.
I think 5.
Yeah,
Maybe
episode
5.
5 of Battle Cry, which is Brandon's show on Monday night, of which I was so lucky to be like his show launch co-host, and I will return and be a returning and reoccurring co-host as Brandon wills it. And I very much appreciate Brandon for allowing it. We got a lot of great feedback. We really did. I recorded with the esoteric. I'll try and do a really Canadiana accent.
Oh, good for you.
Esoteric Archives, the boys from that. So shout out to them.
They're great.
Yeah, they're great guys. They remind me of like all my uncles, all my like quote unquote. Well, my uncles are French speaking, but if they were French speaking, it would be the same thing. Anyway, they said how great we were on lives, and they loved like the dynamic energy that we brought. And I was like, yeah, 2 Mercurials together. Obviously I'm a Sagittarius, so I draw from Jupiter, which is the sort of fuller expression of Mercury, and Brandon really draws from Mercury, which means that it's like full power, full blast all the time with both of us together. So it's a great combo. And yeah, I appreciated it, Brandon. Like, as you know, I mean, you will say you're new, but you've like been around podcasting and podcasters long enough that you understand sometimes there are ups and downs and lulls in you getting booked, and other people asking you on, or your popularity is waning. Not waning, but you know, things come in and out of fashion, especially for someone like me who has like a very niche kind of like aether wave show. You know, my show is Chaos Dharma. That's what my show is. So it's not like baby, you know, it's not like baby step Kabbalah. So it's like big boy Kabbalah. Yeah, so it's like, it's harder for people to crack open necessarily. So, you know, it is great. And I really appreciate that for the, not just exposure, but just that you wanted to work with me, and thought that I was like good enough to like, you know, co-host a YouTube live. But in props to me, I am very funny on a YouTube live, and I have done hundreds and hundreds of them. So I do have some experience, but yeah, I really appreciate it. And shout out Battle Cry episode 5, Jin the fucking Ninja. And if you want to check me out, I should actually do a proper intro. Check me out at Wukong Reborn, WUKONG Reborn on X, Twitter, or the show account Threshold Saints at Threshold Saints on both IG and Twitter X, as well as our YouTube channel, youtube.com/at The True Grey Lodge, which is TRVE Grey Lodge. So yes, our Grey Lodge show does continue. Our new episode will be uploaded Wednesday on the feed as normal. And then starting on May 8th, or that weekend, we will have a special episode of a show called, it's like a mini series like we always do at the Grey Lodge, called The Weird Boys. Like spelled in the way that you'd think. And so that will be me with a special co-host, and I won't even be driving the Merkaba in that instance.
Strange.
The chariot.
Sorry,
So
you will always be driving your own Jin, and that will always help others drive theirs. Okay, my friend.
well, we'll see about that. But well, I'll play nice. I said I would, so we'll play nice. I'll be a good boy.
Nice.
And then so today I have an episode dropping. Actually, I haven't dropped it yet. It's in scheduled, but it's ready to rock and roll. It's with Herbie and the Kurt cast. It's called Hong Kong Bullet Parade, and it is 2.5 hours of the slimiest, the sleaziest, the raunchiest. Hong Kong category 3. Category 3 are not pornographic films, but they have explicit nudity and like female nudity and really weird kind of like B-movie plot lines, but some of them became extremely popular as a region, like as a local, like millions of people went to go see them at the theater. So they became like, they were like these sleazoid kind of like exploitation films sort of.
In Hong Kong?
Yes, in Hong Kong. They're called category 3 films. And a lot of famous actors came through the category 3 system. So even though I'm saying it's like slimy and sleazy, actually some of the best directors, best actors, martial artists included.
You were talking about that today.
Yeah, so that is the episode. So
Nice.
check that out. Hong Kong Bullet Parade with Herbie and the Kurt cast. And they're a group of young Zoomer nerds, nerd cells, and they are much cooler than me. And so I was really lucky that they wanted to speak to me about my opinions, cultural opinions on Hong Kong cinema.
Nice. That's a fucking niche. Excuse my French, everyone. Speaking of French, Jin the Ninja is going to be speaking French for us tonight if we so choose and get lucky enough. But you know, that's a niche thing, and that's amazing. And that's amazing that you can talk about that. I just go on. You got more to say, but I want to watch that. So.
Look, I like all my episodes, but that should be particularly amazing. That should be a really strong episode for me, episode 94. And as well, of course, check out the Substack, thresholdsaints.substack.com. Thank you to all the Israelis, probably rabbis, hopefully, or just like Kabbalah bros that now watch my show. 14%. Hey, that's pretty fucking good.
Bro,
So
Massad's watching your show, Jin.
I'm fine with they know I'm cool. They know I'm cool. I don't take sides. I'm not Abrahamic. I don't care what happens in the desert. I've said it many times. They can both get glassed. I will not shed any tears for anyone. I don't want people to die, obviously, as like a dharmic person, but we live on the carnal ground. So, you know, death is inevitable and I can't control it. And but like, I'm great. Like I love Hebrew Kabbalah. So if like all those rabbis want to like move to America and like teach me Kabbalah, then I'm happy. So like, if it, you know, so like, but see, the thing is with Mossad, like listening to my show, which may or may not be true. I'm sure that some of them do. You know, this is the thing. I cannot be bribed financially, but you probably could bribe me with like rare and untranslated, like Lurianic and like Rabbi Cordovero. Like you could, if you could get me some of those texts that David Heim Smith uses, I would be really appreciative, and maybe I could be swayed to be more pro-Israel.
Everyone's got a point. Everyone's got a price.
So mine is rare books.
Nice, that's cool.
So I'm just putting it out there for everyone to know.
Oh, if it's on the internet,
I'll take tantras. I'll take tantras as well.
Nice.
I'd be happy with those.
Well, there we go. He said it first, people. That's amazing. That's brilliant. So yeah, everyone go out and watch, listen to that episode. It's dropping today.
It should be dropping. Yes, I'll drop it probably like an hour after we end.
Okay, perfect. Well, okay, that's great. So
I do it on planetary hours, so it's whatever's like lucky. I forgot what it is. That's all. I'm not trying to hide it. I honestly don't. I forgot what it is at sunset. I only can memorize so many things in one day.
I feel like
I'm at capacity.
No, I love that. I feel like for me, I'm all like, oh my God, I have set times because I'm trying to master the algorithm that I think things should drop. You know what I mean? And so mine's templed into their astrological time clock. Maybe I should do some. I've done other things according to Kaiva's helped me with on opening this and other things via astrological time. And so I do find that to be quite important for, you know.
It is important, but it's important also, not to make a pun, but it is important also for people not to let it run their lives.
That's what I'm saying. That's it right there.
But it's important to utilize. Like if you have something important to do, signing a business document, Kaiva talks about that. I was always really impressed with that because that's a very pragmatic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or to like get married, that might be a little more, you want like more auspicious than just like 1 hour of the day. But it's 1 hour to stand up there at the threshold and get married. That's pretty, you'd want that hour at least to work, and if not the whole day. So there's times where to utilize it, but you do not want to be governed by Hode or analogical time. You want to be in control of that time in yourself.
Yeah, no, that's really important. And I think it's really important so what I do to construct my days, and anyone can say that whatever about it, is I have my certain time periods, and then the different kind of things along different business lines that I have to do, I call them realms. And so it's very multiversal if you think about it, where it's like, okay, I'm going from this realm to another realm because my consciousness shifts when I do it, as in the levels of communication and the aspects of my nervous system brain that I have to use completely has to change in a way. Right? Where it's like, now I'm acting in this manner of accord for this kind of job. Now I'm acting in this manner of accord. And when I'm driving, it's like my spaceship. That's my portal. So that's my external Merkaba chariot that is actually being controlled by this one, because there is no cars, because there is no time on the clock, and I'm not really moving anywhere. But at the same time, when I move, consciousness shifts. And so we're talking about time and how time works according to the astrology of things. And so I think it's fascinating that if we can think in realms, then people would have more time. That's my point. Thank you, Jin.
Well, you are most welcome. Obviously, in Kabbalah, time works in a 3 to 4 realm cycle, depending on your system. We always have this, not you and I, we don't disagree on Kabbalah most of the time, you and I, interestingly, because every time I've podcasted with people from the Golden Dawn, they always take such issue with like everything I say. And really, I'm the better Kabbalist. They should kiss me on my fucking feet, honestly. You knew I was going to come out with something like this. I'm sorry, Brandon. Anyways, they are so annoying. I'm just going to say, with their like high horse, big ego bullshit. I am the better Kabbalist. There's no question about it. I would debate anyone from the Golden Dawn live on fucking YouTube at any time.
Let's go. Let's fucking go. I'll put it out.
Let's go. I will. I have no problem with it. None of you are as good as me. Kiss my ass.
Yeah, we're going hard on this, and it's a fascinating thing, because I think the same kind of idealization between institutional structures and the individual, like Luciferic rogue kind of ninja, has been going on for a long time, and the same thing from like the early 1900s. Interesting enough, and why I think so much Crowley hate was stemmed through things is because of the different wars that were going on about those things. So like, fascinating enough. Who's the better Kabbalist, interesting enough, is one of those things that was also battled back in the day between Crowley and William Butler Yeats. Interesting enough, if people don't actually know that. So it's great. I'm going to host that, Jin, okay?
Yeah, of course. But let me just be clear. Like, I know that you'll laugh or like agree secretly, or you'll be like, maybe I'm better than Jin, but I won't say anything, so I don't want to suffer his ire. But the truth is like I'm probably one of the best young Kabbalists of our cohort, in my opinion. If you want to ask me who's Jin's favorite Kabbalist is, it's Jin. I think Jin's.
Well, I mean, come on. Let's this is very on topic. Even and to be honest, it's on topic to mastering your own path. And so there is something to it where I believe today's culture has created such a pinholing on the differentiation between egocentric, egotistical, and then the very inverse of that is letting the world stomp upon you as these either bigger or smaller institutions, depending on how you want to look at them, or people or entities or whatever it is. Once it's the following motif is kind of what I'm getting at. It's like, follow me and I'll lead you to this way. It's like even my own Kabbalistic understanding and adventures I've taken from so many different places. It just happened to be the Golden Dawn for me was where I first came across these types of things, and then going into all the other work that is out there, because the Kabbalah is the framework like that the Western esoteric tradition stems itself from. And when you get trapped, the idea is that when you get trapped in such a framework, you become myopic. And I think that myopia can limit how you can see the vision of the world through the alchemists, the sorcerers, the magician's eyes. Don't you think?
Okay, look, this is the thing. I have no problem with the Golden Dawn or the Golden Dawn material, and I never have. It is the members who have problems constantly, consistently with me and my way of articulating the tree, but they are inferior to me. So until you guys study your fucking ass a little bit, don't come at me saying, oh, I don't like it the way you do it. No, I'm better than you. So you make your own Macabre journey and you resolve that paradox for yourself. You resolve Zimzum for yourself. Don't look at me. Just because you guys think that the logos are on the paths and is so fixed and everything's fucking fixed and the 7 planets are the only thing that exists. No, Jyotish has 9. Inner Layer Tantra has 9. The tree has 9 spheres. I mean, well, 10, obviously, or 11. But I mean, there's a bunch of paradoxes in that. So we'll say there are places for the outer 3 planets on the tree.
Yeah.
David fucking Rankin agreed with me. He said that y'all nuggas are fucked in the head. Okay, that's true. I didn't make it up. I'm sorry you guys are old. I'm really sorry your ideas are stuck in the institution. It's the Aeon of the Daughter.
Yeah, let's go.
Sorry.
No, I agree. It's fascinating. Almost, and metaphorically, mythologically, metaphysically, if you think about the Aeon of the Daughter, I keep thinking about this. Not much. I actually think about it right now when you said it, and it just kind of, these epiphanies explode. But Sophia, or the daughter who lives within Malkuth, is finally rising to kind of absolve all of these higher realm things, right? Or the older aeons, I think is fascinating as it rises up. And so
yes.
It's very similar.
She rises past Yesod to Samech, which is not really there, but it's a secret way of understanding that letter, which is the space, the emptiness between the sun and the moon.
Yeah.
So the daughter rises up on a sun disk. That's how we would describe it in tantric iconography. But she is in unification, yab yum, with the sun. This does not even mean that they're in sexual relationship. It can, but it doesn't have to be. I gave an extremely flexible Aeon of the Daughter framework. And I said that she arises on path 22, the Lamed path. And this makes a lot of sense if you understand the way that the tree was built out by Frater Achad.
Yeah.
So I made it very simple. Like, the Kabbalah is very easy. An intermediate student could follow it. I was an intermediate student at the time. I'm not saying I'm not an intermediate Kabbalist now. I'm sure. Okay, fine. I'm still the best. I'm still good, and I'm still would say I might not be the best, and I'll say David Heim Smith is better than me, and he is. But I will also say
bro, that guy would talk. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I am not egotistical. So I wanted to address. You didn't say I was, but I am not stuck at Tiferatic consciousness. Like, I do not have a big ego,
bro. No, we travel the whole tree. All right, we're going all of it, or we're not doing any of it at all. So
that's the whole thing. I would say if I felt like I was being egoic, I would totally call myself on it. I'm my own hardest critic. I'm not Jewish, but I have that Jewish tendency. It's very Catholic, actually, to be very much you just crucify yourself, basically excoriate yourself for everything that you do, for all the things you think, for all the choices you make. At least that's how I think. So no one is harder on me than me.
I feel that same way about myself. So yes, I agree.
But I will say, I'm sorry, it is 2026 and it is the Aeon of the Daughter. You guys need to start reading Crowley. You need to read Frater Achad. You need to go read the Nema books. And of course, you have to read The King, R.I.P., Saint Peter Carroll.
Peter Carroll.
I'm legit a little sad. I'm not going to cry. But I'm not going to cry. I can't. My sky waifu, Cassandra, is in the chat and she hears me be emo. so often. She's like, we're gonna have to start making a joke about like Jin the emo cutter because it's just so bad. But I am tough. So don't fuck
Cutting himself with a Fisker's scissors.
That's right. But she also knows I'm tough, and she knows I get up on these lives and I will fucking say it, and I will sling the magic code like words, just words, right? Don't get mad, just words. But I will sling the words. And so, I just wish that the people that thought they were such great magicians, like these great white wizards that are supposed to save us and save our civilization, like, no, you guys are off grifting $600 Kabbalah classes. You're teaching people how to read through the Dion Fortune fucking paperbacks that are like 70 years old. Like, what are you doing? I'm serious. And you look at all the heads of these even the new kind of formations, like I made a joke about Lux Temple. So let's talk about Lux Temple. Oh, so they're the antinomian, transgressive, left-hand path, Luciferian, Gnosticism. Okay, well, if you're antinomian, then you actually are affirming the celestial. Like so it's like being a Satanist. In the Normgroid way. It's like you're doing satanic black mass, but you're emulating the Catholics. You're just reversing it. So you're actually just saying you're Catholics. I'm just tired of it. I'm just tired of all of this. I think it's all bullshit. I just want to push it all to the side. I'm like, let's use a new Gnostic framework. It doesn't have to be anti-Christian. It can incorporate some of the best ideas. It can be very accommodating. There is something really interesting you could do. And I think that we did it as a group, Aeon of the Daughter, but I think there's so much more that the canon could be expanded. And I don't think it has to be crazy or
I mean,
weird.
That's why Crowley was like, we must move forth from the Age of Osiris into the Aeon of Osiris into the Aeon of Horus.
And he was right, as I always say.
And he was completely correct.
Yes,
and can we not feel it everywhere as it's merging into this new Aeon? I agree completely.
And I said to them, I said on all 11 spaces and continuously on the Grey Lodge, I am calling it Aeon of the Daughter because this is a really interesting way to understand like what I later came to understand as the Aeon of Mott. I realized that they was really the same, very similar things.
Oh, yeah.
Mott is married to Horus.
Yes.
So it made sense. It even made sense. Yes. Was Crowley the Kabbalist I am? In my opinion, no. And if you have a problem with that, cry about it. I don't care.
That's funny. That's hilarious. That's bold. Crowley was a great Kabbalist.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was great.
But Frater Trod was better. And Frater Trod's tree wasn't perfect either. So it took a ninja. It took a Happaborian ninja like me. I've said this on the show on Grey Lodge, so this is not that crazy. But it took someone who could ride the polarities in and of themselves, east and west, to fucking merge. And I also incorporated Nemes tree. So I wasn't just drawing from the two OGs. I actually drew from the 1990s Aeon of Mott workings. I went out of my way to interview with Solar, Gregory Peters, but I didn't just want to interview Gregory Peters. I actually reached out to everyone involved in the Aeon of Mott workings. I tried to find them.
Nice. That's crazy.
So I really tried to like revive as much as possible as a small podcaster can do. And I then realized like some of these people are like, Gregory is a great person. I highly recommend everybody go read his new book, Aeon. I forgot it. Aeonic Tantra. I can't remember the exact title, but it's a great book. Everybody can go find it. Gregory Peters, episode 77, Garland of Nightside on my show. So you can go listen to it too. But he's a great guy, and he was really forthcoming and really kind about his background. And he also had a very dharmic background. He studied directly under Namkai Norbu, who's was a Dzogchen master, great master.
That's cool.
And he had all these tantric experiences. So why I'm bringing this up is because there was a place I realized after that episode, I was like, I wasn't trying to be like I'm right about everything, but at the same time, I kind of was like Jin is right about everything. So
Nice. And which episode are you talking about? The episode you're just talking about is where
well, after Gregory Peters, his whole experiences was so similar to mine. It was like he went to Nepal, he saw dakinis. I've seen dakinis. I've been to Nepal. I had all these understandings through iconography. So did he. He understood through art as well, which I think is common for people who are more visual. Like I'm a very visual person. So it made sense. And I studied art history in university.
Nice.
And so it made sense for me, right? Like I was studying like very tantric images from a very young age.
Yeah.
So that is obviously how the hermeneutic is going to be the strongest, is going to be on the system that you study the most.
That's how it happens. Yeah, exactly.
And so he had experiences. They weren't exactly the same as mine. I'm never going to sit here and be like, when he went to Nepal, he saw Kali, or what he said was Kali, or what he thought was Kali. That's not who I saw. That's not the name I would use. That's not like the experiences I would have. That's not the way the Nuaris themselves would understand it, but that's perfectly valid.
Well, of course it is. And then that goes to the idea of how we're supposed to master our own destiny and not listen to anybody else, and making them a guru because of the things that they have gone through are bigger than what you've gone through, so to speak. Then going to like the Crowley, McGregor, these huge egos that were moving through the time, even Yeats, who's truly the one tapping into the great initiation in the secret chiefs? It must be I, because if you are not on my path, you are lower than me. It's like, and which is different than the attitude that you're bringing currently, because of there's confidence, but the idea is that like you can see myopic thinking. You can see when we confine ourselves to such a small part of the map, when all of these things are, what are they? They're models of reality. They're ways to perceive things out there that then we are using different lenses through, like Tree of Life being one of them, right? The Taoist I Ching being another, tantric work that you do, and all these different things. They're just different models.
Yes. So you're hitting. Sorry, Brandon. You're hitting on it. Yeah. I wanted to say this last time you brought up the I Ching. Mm-hmm. There are 64 trigrams.
Yeah.
In Tantra, we have 64 triangles. We call this the Sri Yantra.
Yeah. Exactly.
If you cannot understand,
there's 64 codons, right? Yeah.
That's right. And what does 6 and 4 add together to? The fucking 10.
Oh, nice.
Brace yourself, Golden Dawn boys. It is not the 8 or it's not the 9. It's the motherfucking 1 and 0, the circumpunct. That's the magic number.
Yeah.
You can prove that is the magic number.
They don't say any other number than that though, right? I mean, obviously. They say 10.
I mean, I got in a heated argument with Ike about this.
Oh yeah. Okay, nice. Okay, great. I mean, and then from my perspective, right, is I feel lots of rage and angst, and also the comedic troupe of I just love. This is why I came into this space. One of many, right? You could clip up all of my things and you could say, we get a top 20 of why he created this space, because I've said this many times. Here's another one of them, is just because there's only one way to sharpen a sword, and we're coming with fucking fire and kung fu, which is why we call this battle cry. Because when two Ronins roam together, like fucking Jin Mugen and Samurai Champloo, they are able to find the samurai who smells like flowers, right? Something like that.
You have to find the samurai that smells like sunflowers.
Yeah,
yes,
that's what I'm saying. That's
Fu's father.
Yeah,
people don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
No,
we're talking
it's
about
beautiful.
The greatest anime of all time, which is Samurai Champloo.
Yeah, it's
we'll do some deep anime weebdom right now before we talk about Peter Carroll and Chaos Magic.
Yeah.
So the guy who did the series Samurai Champloo also did many other actually famous series, but his most famous series was Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop. Sorry. Yeah. Cowboy Bebop.
That's okay.
Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo are two of the greatest. This is some of the most brilliant. You just need to.
I like Cowboy Bebop, but it's not even in my top 10. But I like it. Yeah. But what the innovation of Cowboy Bebop was, it mixed sci-fi with blues and jazz.
It's so
it has a lot of like free jazz, but it's not hip hop jazz.
No. Okay? Bruce Lee like character doing Jeet Kune Do.
Correct. Yeah. It's great. It's a space opera.
Yeah.
But everybody knows I'm Jin the Ninja. I am not Jin the Space Cowboy.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love feudal fucking Japan. That is where I'm happy. You want me to be happy? Send me to Hashem can send me to feudal Japan. I'm happy to be reborn there. Buy me a mochi dango, which is the 3 colors. So pink, white, and slime green. Again, aeonic colors. But those are those rice cakes that they eat, that the Fu eats in the series. Those are called mochi dango. And you dip them into like a sweet soy sauce. They're really good. Yeah. Anyways, but so Samurai Champloo, it literally means Samurai Champloo. Why is Champloo important? Champloo means mix up, something mixed up. It can refer to a salad, like a European chop salad. It can also refer to someone like me, who's like hafu, or as they say in Tagalog, halo halo. There's a reason I like halo halo, because halo halo means like you're mixed up, like you're a bunch of different things. That's exactly what I am. My dad even used to call us like his halo halo kids. So like that is, it's funny, right? It's like cute and sweet. That's what Champloo is. So it's the samurai mix up. And so there you go. Jin, of course, he looks shuai with his, I don't have long hair though. That's the one thing. I'm much more like Mugen in temperament. That's the only thing.
Well, the beautiful thing, and I found this, is that you can find, again, the archetype within through both of them. And that's the beautiful of the show, because you are the show, right? You get the 2 different aspects, and then the feminine principle going to find this ethereal thing that neither one of them have interest in. Like technically these 2 don't need to do that kind of thing. So it's fascinating enough. One trying to gain his honor back, and the other one trying to just not be a fuck up, and that's a gross misunderstatement of what actually is going on.
But they're both on the path of rectification. That's what I particularly love. They're both kind of fuck ups. They're just fuck ups in a different way. Yeah. And Fu's a bit of an idiot, but she is sweet enough that despite the kind of, we'll call it Freud-like tendencies, that she actually can redeem herself in moments of crisis. Yeah. So she might be the cause of those as well, but she can resolve them as well. So anyways, this series mixes contemporary hip-hop, Japanese hip-hop, particularly Nujubes. Nujubes is a legendary motherfucking hip-hop and acid jazz and trip-hop producer. So his music is like so legendary that people listen to it. I know all the Zoomers are like, who? I've never heard of him on Spotify. Anyways, he's so legendary that legendary. Yeah. So to this day, people will listen live. We'll go to Nujube things where DJs will literally only play Nujube sets in their own way, of course, but they will play Nujube sets and like hundreds of people will go. And they post them on Twitter sometimes. And so anyway, that all being said, it mixes this very feudal time. And people will be like, oh, I've heard of hip hop and samurai before mixed together. But before this series, you hadn't. It was a very uncommon, you would not see that. This kind of innovated that whole genre of like hip hop mixed with samurais and martial arts and incredible sword fights and feudal Japan. So
it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And it's a great one. And everyone out there who hasn't seen it, you should go see it if you're not familiar with a lot of how anime storytelling, Japanese storytelling work their magic, because it really gets you to feel with this differentiation between the worlds at that time with the Japanese culture, and then you get this hip hop this lo-fi beats over top of everything, and then one of the main characters has a rhythm and flow hip hop battle style. That's Mugen, the guy pointing at everyone right now, and then his opposition / rival character / friend kind of Jin in the background with the long hair is the traditionalist martial artist who is brilliant in his own traditional values, but is trying to get his honor back from the dojo that can you remind me exactly what happened to Jin?
So basically he I think he declined to be his teacher's apprentice. He was the apprentice. There were 2 of them. This is what my memory is telling me. Yeah. There were 2 apprentices. he was much more skilled than the other apprentice, as the story goes.
Yeah.
And he didn't feel worthy. So this was
That's
even
what
something
it
we were
is.
talking
Yeah.
about pre-recording, how we can obviously sometimes sabotage ourselves because we actually might be good at something, i.e.
Yeah.
Kabbalah,
Yeah.
and we allow people to sort of put us like we are maybe self-critical, or we allow other people's perceptions to sort of denigrate us. So
Oh, nice. No, I
that
agree.
is what he did.
Yeah, nice. Well, and that relates to what we were talking about before, because of it's really important to master your own path along this journey and not epitomize characters that are either of the past, the way past, or even the present, with how knowledge is gained through experience and time. And that's why Kung Fu is so important, is because you get to test your mettle with a lot of these things. And so it's like the idea is that everyone's going to want you to do something for, buying books is one thing, and learning things and trying just to upgrade your knowledge and wisdom is great. So do it. But at the same time, just realize that when does putting yourself out there too much to others and your actual creation start? And that's the idea. You must have your own creationary factor so you can become your own demiurge in the Platonic sense. There's no point in understanding that Plato had a demiurge in comparison to a lot of people's understanding of a cosmology of our human existence. And instead of like the Gnostics, where it was material, body, bad, black iron prison, which we can see reflections of that model of reality, it goes back to the understanding that you are supposed to be, and I talked about this with Danielle Laney on the Rejects. Shout out Nick of the Rejects, and shout out Pinode Projects. I'm going to do an interview with her. She was brilliant, and she's putting together a bunch of different philosophers and different people in the world, so we can have a node. It's called Core, to go out to and speak to other people with. Anyway, more info on that coming later. But why I bring that up is how these two things relate from a mere anime into the real world, and this problem with gurus, charlatans, and false teachers mastering your own path. And the idea that this comes to me from more the fact that, like, what with David Wilcox dying and a lot of like different materials, the raw material coming back up, because things like Gaia, things like institutions have egregores, and unless you destroy egregores from yourself, but don't do it in a malicious way, you're going to be caught up in an egregore, caught up in a mythopoetic or myopic way of seeing things. You should see things mythopoetically, but in doing so, you can go too far in either extremes of the yin and the yang, yin and the yang. Sorry, I speak fast and I say things wrong. But the idea is that finding that middle path, that balance and that harmony within yourself, because you both need to be Mugen and Jin. You need to be a renegade and somebody who follows some kind of structure and path. And upon doing so, you can reach your own, but not getting stuck in other people's, which is then why they were going after the samurai who smells like sunflowers, because it's something that's so zen and breaks the mental constructs that we hold within ourselves, because without doing so, we will be trapped in somebody's other vision, and you won't have enough confidence to say, I dare you to throw hands with me. I dare you to test your mettle at something that you find is to be important, like Kabbalah, like mythological understanding of storytelling, anything that you can just throw hands and sharpen your sword within the world, I think is really important, which is why I think debate and the dialogue, and why the Platonic dialogues are more than just some plaything for esoteric minds, but also the academics don't get it all themselves too. And so that's kind of how I relate, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. But I want to go back to a point you were talking about with Jin and Mugen, because I think this is really interesting. One of the points in the show, this happens a little later in the teens of the season, is that Jin has to learn how to do he doesn't have to learn it from Mugen necessarily, but he has to learn how to not be so formal in his style, because they are Ronin and they are on the run. So he has to take tips from the bad boy. While Mugen, he is almost like an unknown quantity, because he's excellent compared to everyone else, like except for the best masters among them. But his style is so unpredictable. It doesn't always work. It's kind of like it has limitations in form. So he has to actually train with his sword a bit more and not be so reliant on the tricks. One of his tricks, if anyone who knows the show, I know the show so well, like it's so embarrassingly well. But one of the tricks that everybody loves is that he actually has metal plates put on the bottom of his geta, which are his sandals, his wooden sandals. He has metal plates, so he uses those to strike and to block. It's very clever. So, but you just don't want to do it overly. So that's sort of what happens is his hip hop, capoeira, dance, sword style is awesome and makes for great kino. but it does need a little refinement. So there's room for both. So what Jin needs to learn is Hesed, interestingly. And what Mugen needs to learn is Gevurah, interestingly. Yeah. And they need to bring both of those together. And of course, only the daughter can do so. So maybe, just maybe, Fu is the archetype to lead them to Tiferet.
I love that.
The samurai that smells like sunflowers.
What does that sound like?
And the daughter.
Yeah, it's interesting how, and then Anna, I want to state that we aren't as foolish to think that what the thinker thinks the prover proves, right? And so this idea that most of the time, and almost all the time, where there's this like feedback loop system that we have with our nervous systems and models of reality. And so it's the idea is that like these are still just models to view what we're going through in this experience through time that we all have. And how to do so is to watch certain shows and interact with people as you're going about your life, to use the sword throughout your day. I find it to be most important in beautiful republic that we have the ability to have a central square and different places that we move around in public. But it's fascinating to think that through the last, I don't know, since I've been born, that these things that we find to be as our eternal freedoms have been slowly cut away by like inadequacies and cowardiceness and the inability to have a dialogue. And so very quickly we wrap things in emotional states that then think that we need to eradicate certain ways of talking, thinking, acting. And it happens all the way into then philosophical understandings of how we have a dialogue with others, because it's not rocket science to then want to harness and the powers of rhetoric and speech with others in a space. But you can't do that if you are holding people to such a high esteem that you'll never be able to challenge so-called masters. And I think that's something that goes along to the anime spheres. And
who is the motherfucking masters? That's what I want to know.
Yeah,
who are these masters? Like I can say like DCS, like I respect DCS because his books are fucking good. He can fucking articulate Kabbalah for 3 hours. I don't know who these fucking kids are from the third world countries that don't speak barely English that talk about making people. That was a great session. I felt so good. Like, are you giving them handies or are you giving them like Kabbalah lessons? Like, what are you actually doing? I really want to know.
No, I agree. It's tough to go out there when you're like, you go to these certain expos or these people who write books. Like and I'm going to write a book eventually. I know you may, like Substack, whatever you do. It's not about that. It's about that.
I have one. If there's an esoteric publisher, Miskatonic Books, I'd love to work with you. Yeah. Or Peter Gray. I'd love to write Peter Gray. But I have one. Yeah. Aeon of the Daughter. It's ready to go.
Theon Press. You should. Theon Press too. David Beth is fantastic out there, and his book, The Black Pilgrimage, is mind-blowing. The beauty of this book, it's not just trying to tell you or sell you information. What it does is his prose is so poetic and beautiful that he exhibits the mastery of understanding reality through a poetic prose in a very Heideggerian way, where he's not separating the experience in like that. There's a box out here and that's reality, and there's your subjective emotional state. The words are exuding the feeling of what it means to actually be a fucking magician, which is to understand the world in a way that has this back and forth of intimacy with it as we experience things through this phenomenological lens. And so it's again, I'm having him on soon. Everyone should check out David Beth's work of Theon Press. I think he owns it. The Black Pilgrimage is fantastic. Jin, you have to read it as well. And so Yeah. Anyway, the idea is that I'm not clowning book writers. What I'm clowning is
and inner traditions, and I just want to
Yeah.
shout them out. Inner traditions. If you want to add me to your roster, and of the fucking daughter, I rectified the Kabbalah for all 4 cycles. So let me know. Come on, Nagas. Like,
I love that. I love that. I mean, that's that fucking
self-shilling,
Promethean spirit there,
let's
fucking
go.
Jen. Let's go. I love that.
I'm not
That's
writing.
beautiful.
I've learned 3 years ago, I would have been so dumb. I would have been like, oh yeah, I'll post this on Substack and it will be so great. And all these people can read it and learn and like take the Aeonic story for themselves. No, what I now know is a bunch of autists on the internet will take your fucking ideas, monetize it, and then be like, oh, I came up with it. Like Hapaboria. Like I came up with that word. Like nobody can even dispute it. And like that little short Filipino fuckface thinks that he like pretended that he came up with it. Like, I'm sorry, you did not come up with it. You were like a lower middle class, like little Filipino Asian. Like, don't talk to me.
A Filipino.
Yeah, he was.
Hapaboria
was about you want to know what Hapaboria was? It was about Vancouver and Toronto Asians who lived a transnational life. That's what Hapaboria was about. Bringing kids who spoke Asian, kids who spoke an Asian language and a European language. I speak both Mandarin and French, and I actually also speak Bahasa. So the point is like it was people who were fluent and conversant in both cultural zones. It's not someone who runs a YouTube channel called The Warrior Philosopher who posts like selfies for other guys on Twitter.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I saw that. Because I like the term philosopher king or warrior philosophers. And some people hijack terms and it's quite unbearing. That's hilarious.
Anyways, sorry to bring that up. Let's talk about Peter Carroll since we have the books pulled up.
Yeah, pull them up. You want me to? I got it.
You have to do it. I put them in the thing.
Thank you.
Okay, Liber Chaos. So we'll pull the other one up first because that's the first book. This is the book Numero Da.
Got it.
So I actually pulled up the Spanish cover, but I thought it was more beautiful.
It is more beautiful, but that shows you the synchronicities amongst things. That's beautiful.
Correct. So this is Liber Null. This is the book that changed the world. Sold 100,000 copies. People had no idea. Some probably did. Yeah, some magicians did because of the Discordians and Austin Osman Spare. But nobody had really systematized it. Nobody had really gone all the way, we could say. And so Peter Carroll went, as they say, all the way. So this is Liber Null and the Psychonaut. Liber Null e Psychonauta. Well, of course I had to.
That was beautiful.
So anyway, so this is kind of the book that changed the world, and it taught us about consensus reality. It taught us about culture jamming. It didn't call it culture jamming, but sort of to go against consensus reality, to sort of unlock our thinking, so we aren't in servitude to any institutional or cosmological faction.
Yeah.
It allows us to undo their works, their spells, their archons, their arcs, and their words. So
it's beautiful.
It's a foundational text.
And it's an answer to, again, as you already said, the Discordian, Principle of Discordia, Robert Anton Wilson's Illuminatus trilogy, Austin Osman Spare, doing his chaos magic at the time in his automatic writing and sigil work. But also we have to remember, I mean, the grandpappy of a lot of these things, and a lot of people may hate this that I say this, but Aleister Crowley breaking away from, again, interesting enough, the Golden Dawn, as well as Osman Spare doing his thing at a very similar time frame. And so these are the undercurrents of our reality, and I think that's something that's very missed a lot of times, what's going on not only with everyday individuals in the world, but with geopolitics at that time frame. Everyone's reading these books. This book was undoing the mind and the outer influences, so you can do your own magic in the world, and you don't have to resort to classical texts, and all these different things. It really made it. In my thinking on it is, I have certain thinkings on this kind of chaos magic that I have a distaste for, and I understand that that's my hierophant as well as my own inner contradiction. Due to a lot of my awakening was because of the Discordian movement, Robert Anton Wilson and his work, and this book. I've read it obviously multiple times. At the same time, it's so whimsical in a way that it's forgetful for me in how I think about things. But I do understand R.I.P. Peter Carroll and everything that he brought to the spheres.
Well, we're not done talking about him, so R.I.P. to our Naga, but he still lives. So I just want to answer Young Stitches asked a very great question. I'm not offended, and I shouldn't be offended. Anyone who claims they are the scion of Nuria should be able to answer this question. Prophet got to speak the word. Yes, my Naga. What is your word? Well, I said, actually, Crowley didn't speak a word.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to know that for the Aeon. So Bad Boy Crowley and Frater Achad said it was Achad.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with. And Nema said the word was ipsos, which I don't agree with. I think the word or the phrase is lamed mem dalit, love as the cause of knowledge, path 22.
Nice.
I think that is the key word, but I don't necessarily think that it fully explains the sort of path working, but I think it's a perfect encapsulation of what Aeon of the Daughter should be and is.
True. I also think it's utter horseshit, and I don't believe any of it. And I think that's important to know about all these things, because it's like, fuck the word, fuck prophets. Everybody needs to become their own prophet, and that's the whole idea about the Discordian movement. And what this book is specifically is trying to do is everyone is a pope. You must first look at a person, as Robert Anton Wilson says, and denounce them and their popery. So then you can be inducted into popedom, and then we make all popes all the time. I do think there's some looseness to it. I do. There's certain things about stuff, but when it comes to the prophet and new age, what we've come to find out is we are in the land of no masters. That's just the realm that we live within. And the idea is because we're truly, I think, inside the science fiction world, like accelerating through consciousness at such a rate that you just do the work, and we're going to talk about it out here. And the new Aeon and the word is going to ignite within the very centers of our own heart. And then when it does that, it will be your word, because that is hyperglossolalia. The word is what speaketh through you, and that's the difference between then a declaration and a true entanglement, right? That's
Well, I agree with you to a degree, Brandon. Of course, I do. I'm a tantric Buddhist, as everybody knows. Hopefully, everybody knows. So in Tantra, we do actually have bijas, which are assigned to the Aeons. So I'm not going to say them on air, but they're solar Aeon. They're solar bijas. So there are 3 of them. They're not all solar, but they are part of the solar mantra. So resourceful people can go sort that out for themselves, figure out what I'm talking about. They're very available, but they don't just exist alone. They have to be actually expressed in a particular order and with another bija, and it's more complicated than what I'm saying. But even if you just chant the outermost exoteric of the solar mantras that has 3 bijas, you'll be doing an aeonic work. So I do believe that the word, I think this is where my Buddhist sort of like identity really comes out strong, is that I do believe that like the word is self-combusting, but it's also axial, it returns, but it's also assigned to certain periods of ontological time. Bijas are for bringing back the primordial word or the sound through its positionality in the axis. So if we are in the 4th or 5th turning, and that's an interesting number because that's obviously 4 and 5, is Yesod, the 9. And what happens in Yesod that has to do with 4 and 5? Well, Hesed, the waters of Hesed and the fires of Gevra are actually resolved in Yesod. So that's a really interesting idea. And so a lot of rectification, and this is true in Buddhism with Vajrasattva practice, because he sits on a moon disk. So usually when deities are depicted sitting on a moon disk, those are practices of karmic rectification, meaning that you should be resolving the elements as you're imagining yourself either in front of the guru. The guru is the deity in this case, not a guru living teacher. Of course, if you have a living teacher, that's perfectly great too. Listen to what they say. I mean, it's up to you. But if you are doing deity practice, you are you're visualizing in particular ways the deity arising before you on a moon disk. And so the practices of the deities who arise there are usually karmic in nature. So the solar activities, meaning the sun disk, those can be, of course, because it's both, but they can also be more for other things. And when I'm saying other things, I'm not just talking about magic. But it resolves more things than just karma. So, but the lunar disk is considered to be extremely, extremely important for the beginner, especially. But you always return back to it as well. It's something that even someone who's much higher than me, it will be in the highest tantras. You'll see this. You must do this karma rectification practice to do this deity. And the deity will be forbidden to most people. But in order to even do that deity, and while you're doing that deity, if you ever get the permission to do it or fortune or good karma to do it, you have to also be doing this beginner practice. So it's kind of humbling in a way, because you're kind of being told, like, yeah, you made it to this point of like accessing this tantra, but really you have to go back and everything you do has to be self-criticized, has to be examined through this lens, this 4-pillar lens of like what you are doing. And so, I mean, that kind of got way off topic where I wanted to go, but
it's beautiful.
I agree. If people are allowed,
we just said the same thing.
Well, all I know, Brandon, is that I am okay with, if people want to follow an institutional route, then that is on them. Then that is okay. That's totally fine. I said this on the Esoteric Archives. I've said, if the Normgroids need fucking Catholicism, not my favorite religion, but not my least favorite either.
So funny.
They, if the Normgroids want it, then if they need it to get their minds right.
Yeah. Well, we gotta remember,
right.
There's esoteric. We're rolling in understandings of secret societies and mystery schools. And so that's my difference between, like, the institution moves us into the deeper reaches of consciousness and the mind. And so as you go there, we've had to, very similarly, why I really like the work of the AA that Crowley and these characters designed, was because what you're kind of talking about very similarly rectifies itself within the tree of life itself, and then how you witness different movements of consciousness up the tree itself. Again, these are belief structures, and these are things to be able to add on to and take away. But at the same time, there's something called truth, and it's disclosing itself and revealing and concealing continually. And as you tap into it, you harmonize and you resonate with certain things that come your way. You have to understand the filtering mechanism. And so Robert and Wilson had, it was all like, we all know what a dogma is, right? These belief structures that we hold as sacred. But what about katmas? And I think it's so important to understand what a katma is. And again, I will also say right after this why there is my issue with chaos magic and Peter Carroll's work. But before I get there, is the idea of the katma is that there's small metaphysical beliefs, like presuppositions that you use, like little belief structures, little ones that you're just plugging and playing in and out, so you can gain and garner as much information, and then you don't have to use. He always forget to say this. Then you don't have to do that kind of thing anymore with these belief structures, because that's the danger of a structure like NLP and Liber Null and this kind of psychonautic chaos magic, is that it does lose its verdure, like the verve and the brilliance of that aesthetic beauty that the traditions do hold. Because I think my interpretation is of the psychonaut or the Liber Null, the Peter Carroll and his chaos magic, is to break traditional structures and worldviews and the way we see things, so we can do the alchemical process to recoagulate. It is almost a structural tool of the blackening, of the negredo, of the first movement through and of the purification process. So that's kind of how I would put that together. It's important. It's really important to understand the belief structure, the modeling of reality, It's because it's the only way you don't fall into the guru, charlatan, and false teacher category. And it goes back to what Jin and I have said many times, is that it's like it's like Bruce Lee, guidepost. I'm just the signpost. We're just talking about something that we all know already. And I like that idea of, if we all know, that's that Platonic value of, we're just discovering and unveiling aspects of the universe, our own universe and the universe outside of us. And if we have the ability to be malleable in our thinking, not flimsy, not relativistic, but understanding that when we give words and we can find patterns, then we don't have to be stuck to certain institutional ways of thinking the world exists in and of itself. And then we won't pull people into platters and platitudes that it's just not needed, because it doesn't help anybody at all. So.
You are totally, I mean, this is very interesting. I think that we both come from a slightly different perspective on this, Brandon, not because I think you're wrong, but just because I think it's okay to say that you don't know what reality is. I think this is like my chaos speaking.
I agree.
Or the Dharma, or, a Dharma, my Dharma side speaking. Both are the same, really. Chaos, Dharma. It's really similar. I know that some people won't like to hear it, but it is very similar, at least Tantra. So I think it's okay to not fully grasp what reality is and say it's real and not real at the same time. This is what I've always said. This is the paradox I've always given. I think that is perfectly acceptable. I think you can say that's a paradox that people should resolve in their own mind. That is what a master Kabbalist, not that I'm a master Kabbalist, I don't necessarily think that about myself, although, again, I think I'm damn good. But that regardless of that, I do think that is a kind of paradox that a good teacher would actually relay to people. It's like, the world of the mind is real. The world of the exterior is real. How do we reconcile and rectify those two things? And because both of those two things, those two R's, reconciliation and rectification, must occur. That is the solar and lunar marriage. I know you were bringing up Negredo. I tend to think that the Western alchemists focus far too much on the colored states, because Tantra is exactly the same thing. We have all the deities exist in the 5 states of colors for a reason. They represent the alchemical process. We just renumbered them. We slightly changed the elemental designations, the color, maybe the name, the word, how to resonate with it. It's all the same.
Yeah.
So it's about, the reality is like, you have to also learn things that are traditional to a degree. So it's great. Like, I know, like, okay, we have Cassandra in the chat. Cassandra, I was telling Solar this, is that Cassandra is one of our the most diligent Kabbalah students I've ever met. She will listen to rabbis. Yeah, she doesn't agree with them politically, but she'll watch them because they're good Kabbalists. That's what you do.
That's what you do. That. I do that.
I listen to Dharma chats too.
I fucking listen to all kinds of things I hate.
Agree.
Yeah,
exactly. And you know what? You grow in wisdom and understanding, and then you come to a place of death, of knowledge. That is exactly how you come to it. You do not come to it through your ego. Like I was talking about, like these third world Kabbalists that are like back alley, like offering like palmistry services, but they're really trying to grease your palm.
Yeah.
For the hand job and backstab you after it. Anyways, there's so many, and they have no idea of their actual system that they purport. Who are their fucking masters? You're going to go out there and talk about your Kabbalah master? You should be ashamed of yourself. Who is your Kabbalah master? I didn't take refuge. I don't care about their name. It's not about their name. I didn't take refuge under their master. So don't ever try and subjugate me by saying, oh, my master says this. Even if someone was a Buddhist or anything, I don't care who they fucking are. They will never subjugate me by saying, my master said. I don't care.
I mean, if anyone ever, as everyone knows, there's some bad touch terms, like don't touch me there, right? As if if I had a doll and I'd be like, where did the bad man that touch you? That's the term. My master says it's this, and it's like my philosophy is about burning down and destroy, like, I destroy the master. When my students, because in like my kung fu students and anybody I train, I'm like, let's get better. And I'm not, no, you'll know what works. And if you want to go learn more things other places, because if you have to, but like, you show it in your kung fu. Don't ever tell me that, like, don't go to a student and say, well, my master said you shouldn't do it this way. And I'm all like, no, don't do that. Show them why we don't do it that way, and then they'll respect you, and then you guys can trade knowledge. Fuck. Yeah.
Look, I just think that people like rely on these like mnemonic devices, and they're not like applicable. They're not practical. And like, I'm a speculative Kabbalist. I'm the first to say it. But if my speculative knowledge outweighs someone else's by like thousands, 101,000%, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And you sell services, and
selling services is the number one thing that I'm just
and
like,
you say you can clear people's karma.
No one can clear karma but yourself. No one, you cannot.
Exactly.
There's no
Thank
black.
you so much.
Yes. No, there's no black candle that this person can buy and light for you. That's $2,000, $660.
Thank you.
Yeah. Never.
Thank you.
Yeah. Never. And that's the idea of mastering your own path. And there's so many gurus and charlatans and false teachers. And what's happening is that these people are selling you snake oil, because unless they're selling you aspects of your own soul, as in just trying to, like, you can go to people to talk to, learn from, train with, doing all these things. It's the art of critical thinking to be able to say, like, what and why am I doing such a thing? And is it going to benefit me? And what are these criteria that are being met? And if anybody is not telling you that you can do this, you got to figure it out yourself, and here's a way of going about it, you can walk out that door whenever you want. Like, it's just such a false dichotomy. Masters are meant, you are meant to become the master. And that's the idea of Robert Anton Wilson talking about who is the master that makes the grass green. It's the same mnemonic trip that we do against ourselves, trying to find the ego and the I within the mental consciousness, mind, body construct. You will never do it. You'll continue to search. And that is the beauty of the mythopoetic system, I think.
Well, there's a paradox even with Robert fucking Anton Wilson, is because and like to quote Sochki, he complains about the masters of the universe and they were all his best friends.
No, I agree. It's true, but he also said your best 5 people around you are the Illuminati and the people that like the people.
But they actually were the Illuminati. That's the
problem. Maybe. I don't know that so much. He was deeply integrated in those things, and the people around him. Timothy Leary was a big person he looked up towards. And
I mean, Timothy Leary was a big. People want. I'm not being a hater. I'm really not.
It's true though.
I dabbled in psychonautery. I don't know. I have dabbled with entheogens many times. I've never taken ayahuasca, but I'm relatively. I'm not a newbie. I could go through the Arrowwood reports and tell you what are real and what are not real, depending on the substance. I'm more experienced. I'm somewhat experienced. Okay.
You're funny.
Well, I don't know all the crazy
unless you
things that people take,
bro. Unless you've taken 4 to 5 hits of high-powered blotter acid and listened to listen to Lateralis and listen to Lateralis. I mean, we're working in different realms.
Look, Brandon. I'm already very weird. People already think I'm a wizard in life. Yeah. I'm talking about in my life. The people that I know think I'm a wizard. Electronics. I'm not trying to be funny. Electronics break around me. Unbelievable. Yeah. And I'm not talking like they don't like explode or anything, but devices do sometimes turn off.
Bro, I nervous systems explode when I come around people. I get
so people off. It's not a joke. Like there's that scene in The Craft where the girls are sitting there. I know this is the second episode we brought up The Craft, or I did. The girls are sitting there, and Sarah is talking to the guy, Skeet Ulrich, and he goes, "They're witches." And then so later on, Sarah asks, and she's like, he told me that you guys were witches. And Rachel True goes, yeah. So what if we are? They are usually right about these things. And so what I'm trying to say, which is true though, it is true though, but they usually can tell. people usually know. I'm not talking about being a Catholic goth kid in 1995. I'm talking, which obviously I was.
Well,
I'm talking about like people know that I'm like a wizard. Like I wear mostly only black.
Unless you walk into places and people think you're Goku or Vegeta, are you really living life? You know what I mean? It's
okay. So
that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying is that I don't need to take blood or acid because I'm already quite.
I get
it.
We all that was my breakdown.
You have listened to my show. I go really hard with speculative and experiential Kabbalah.
Yeah.
Like I have to also talk to people who like maybe didn't finish high school, and I'm not putting them down in any way. I'm just saying I have a range of people that I experience in my day. And so for me to put on the Normgroid tiny hat, it takes I actually like take a lot of like I have to tone it down by like 99%.
I've told people around me before, I've been all like, just so you know, I give you like 10% of my actual feelings about the world and myself. And they look at me and they're like, well, that's because that's how we stay friends. And I was all like, it's more real than you think, or we'd be better friends. And that's my idealism. And I'm all like, no, I think I could. And that's my own shit I got to deal with is like, I'm pretty sure if we talk long enough, I could convince you of my worldview. And if I don't, you're going to look at me like, I wish I could think like that, because that's some magical shit right there. You know, the world's a strange place. And unless you can become, you know, and I know there's like a hate out there for people being like, you shouldn't try to think of yourself as your own main character. And I'm all like, how can you do anything else? And I get that you need to not like fall into psychopathy, high levels of egotism, which is then why it's really important to do this work when you're doing all these things and you're truly reflecting. And I think that's something that's also, I get pissed off about the current world of this occult esoteric spheres is there's not enough, for me, there's not enough beauty about philosophy itself, the philosophia, and this beauticious understanding of how to truly reflect and contemplate on existence as such, because that's like where a lot of this stems from. Any kind of magic, levels of mysticism, these people were first falling suit into these things through true philosophia, through the understanding of wisdom, the love of wisdom. Yes, these words suck, you know. And there's this book I highly recommend everyone going out and getting. It's called The Philosophy as a Rite of Rebirth from Ancient Egypt to Neoplatonism, Algis Uzanavinis. And he's truly trying to challenge our understanding of philosophy, and how through centuries of misassumptions through orthodoxy and institutions have like qualmed it down to just being this mind science and like structural, logos, rational. But these people were truly divining with gods at this time frame. And so to be like, well, no, they were doing magic and theurgy, and I'm all like, yeah, sure, bullshit. They were first trying to understand cosmology through interactions of the mythopoetic sense. And what's more mythopoetic than true philosophy and this brilliance that we all come along? So
I don't know. I'm kind of like the anti-philosophy. That's why I love the chaos magic, because we have to burn the books at the end of the day into the fires of
no. That's my point, though, and that's a misconception that you're even having when I speak about it. Is that it's not about the books; it's about the contemplation and reflection of such. And then not until you have this level of understanding, because the book technically is the book within the mind heart, and you're writing things down and then you're reflecting upon them, and you're trying to truly find gnosis through that divine understanding.
No, I totally get it. I was just doing a Wittgenstein joke.
No, sorry. You see, this is my dogma, though. This is like, you can tell when I'm passionate and enraged about something, because I'm coming up against swords, and I'm all like, why are we not speaking to our philosophers in the occult esoteric realm? I will state, I did have that on that Danielle Laney. She's brilliant. I'm going to have her on. She was on the Rejects. I had such a great time speaking about Platonism. Somebody who actually knows about Platonism, a fucking philosopher. And there's too many people out here who have written things and talk about it. And I want people to talk about Plato, Aristotle, the ancient Greek philosophers, all the Eastern ones, everybody. I want us to have the dialogue, but I want to let's tone it down on magic when we're talking about something that let's integrate it into the embodied. I think that's exactly what you're talking about as well. We need to integrate these things all into and break down this. What is it? Secularization is for insects. And I find that to be so important, is that specialization is for insects as well. And when we're too specialized in our one fucking myopic view of how reality is supposed to work, when truly we're trying to operate within the realms of wonder itself and the imagination. And so this is what gets me hard to come think about it, because once you have the understanding of your imagination, your will, and your to will, to know, to dare, and to remain silent, is that when we're speaking, we speak in code, we speak in allegory, and we speak in metaphor. It's not as something like Jin and I are speaking in code, even though if you don't have the same alphabet and the same language subsets and the same understanding of the mythology and the legends, and then the practice of the meditation and the rituals, then it's hard to understand. I do get that.
I try not to do that though.
You can't help it.
When I started podcasting, no, I was much more conscientious of it. I was like, I have to code things in Sambodhi Gaya. I have to like retain the secrecy around this idea. But the deeper I have gotten into my Lamdre practice, which is a specific kind of Buddhist teaching, I realized that it's actually okay to say a lot more things than I was saying, and it was actually detrimental, probably, to people listening.
Okay, I get that.
I'm copping to it,
and I'm not saying that
detrimental though, because why? I'm not saying you are. I'm just talking about how I've come to this place of being more plain spoken.
Yeah,
I feel like I tried to control my speech, my Vok, that's what we call it, so much that it became almost like jilted and restricted. And it shouldn't be. It should be free-flowing like Hesed.
The poetic. It needs to have the poetic.
Correct. But it does not. It needs the contour of actual reality, which is what you're talking about, like the path working.
Yes, it does.
So that's where the Dean or the Geverer comes in, right? Yeah. You don't want to say too much, but you don't want to say too little either. You want to somehow come to a place of Tiferet.
Yeah, and it's a beauticious experience with your environment, and so it's like walking up to a wild animal. You're not going to run up on this wild animal and try to scare it away because you're being loud.
Well, you have to know, you have to recognize your audience, right? Recognize that there are different publics. Yeah. There are different people that you're speaking to. But now when I come on and do a live, or I go on Rejects, or I go on my own shows, so you get a totally different Jin. Yeah. Grey Lodge, you get Jin, but it's like Jin it's like what's it called? Uncut Gems. Yeah. This show, you get Jin Battle Cry.
Fucking Battle Cry, bro. We went hard.
You get bad. Well, we still have 2 hours left. So
we do.
I have a lot more. I could go 2 hours hard, like straight fire.
Yeah, I got nothing else to do. Let's do it.
Anyways, I'm just saying, this is the thing too. I recognize that there are people who are high attaining, high achieving. I'm talking metaphysicians, not anyone in the real world. But I recognize that there are people who have deep degrees and historically have had deep degrees of spiritual understanding. And that is totally okay. And I draw from them, and maybe they are my teachers in like a more mythopoetic way.
That's how
that is perfectly dharmic.
Yeah.
I don't take them literally. I apply all the same wisdom science principles that I apply to all wisdom science: bodhicitta framework, non-duality, and middle positionality. So that's how I approach everything. And I feel like that is the way forward. But I disagree with you slightly, Brendan, is that I think like integration. I know you're a philosophy guy, and maybe this is the big difference. I'm not. I'm a total metaphysician. Yeah, I like metaphysics. I think that people are best served by a Gnostic story that relays multiple layers of meaning inside of it, that people can both believe. A high-level practitioner can believe a Gnostic story that is well defined, that explores and explains the important points.
Can you define how that's different? What's the disagreement?
Because I think that your preference would be like more like a Hermetics podcast. Like, I don't know if you know him, but the James DeLee.
Yeah, I know.
He has his Hermetics podcast. So he does like a combination of like metaphysics and philosophy.
Right.
For me, that I need actual metaphysics. I need the tree. I need Tantra. I need magic. And it's not just about me as in like I need. Mm-hmm. It is much more about like what I think is real. I think those things are real. I do not think philosophy is real. I don't want to hear people talk about it. I am sick. I'm not saying you, Brandon. I'm not even putting down philosophy, but I am sick of the rationalization
That's my
of
problem.
these
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that are
yeah.
so ineffable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I get that. That's why there's a historical merge from the mythopoetic Homer, because it is it's historicity. It's the historical hermeneutic understanding of the expressions, contemplations, and reflections of man through time, through its evolution of consciousness. You need philosophy. I don't think that you can separate them. I know we will use categorizations and different ways to perceive through these kind of categories, metaphysics and all the different things. But for me, philosophy is all of this, and then we choose to focalize our points in certain moments to use as models for experiencing and understanding reality itself. And so that's where I don't know if that's I don't know, but that's how I see it anyway. That kind of thing, I don't think you can get away from it, and because it all first started from that first initial reflection and wanting to know things, and through the art of wonder, using your imagination through space, thus creating a structural metaphysics so you can understand the world and build it into a proper physics.
Of course, the cosmology, the cosmological story, the cosmopoesis of it all, it should refer back to actual practical wisdom science.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've always said. That's what makes Kabbalah quote unquote true.
It does. Yeah.
To explain the tree should be able to be almost the same. There should be a relative degree where you're also able to move through it consciously by articulating it. We were talking about this pre-recording and I said it in a really interesting way. And now I can't remember that exact way, but it's you're only good at the tree if you can articulate your path working through it. If you're stumbling and like can barely, maybe English is your second or third language, and that's fine in some cases, you should still be able to explain the basic path working. If you're overcomplicating the tree, you fundamentally don't understand how it works.
Fundamentally, because it just explodes out. No, it's obvious, the structure, and because it starts super mundane and then you build on top of it, like just getting more detailed on a map, on a storyboard. It's just all of a sudden you're filling out the details, but the basic frameworks are the structural frameworks.
I want to shout out Cassandra again because she gave me some really good Yetziradic advice. She was like, I'm not as good as you, Jin. She always speaks to me so really sweet. I'm not making fun of her voice. I'm trying to do like a sweet Jin voice.
That's good.
And she was like, but she's like, I would think of it like this. And she literally explained to me like a very important Tiferatic principle. Admittedly, my hardest Sephira. It's the hardest Sephira for me. I didn't get it for a long time. I still have a hard time defining the contours of the specificity of it, just because it makes a lot more sense to me now. And I can actually like spit some good bars in a like Hebrew way on the Sephira. But I really needed to hear her say it. And like when she said it, I was like, she's right. I knew in my heart, I was like, very Tiferatic. I knew in my heart, I was like, she's right. That's the way to understand the planets. Exactly what she's saying. I have to unify them. I have to meet them at the Omer of Tiferet. I have to remove the husk. I have to reveal the beauty both of Gevurah and Hesed together. And what does that mean? And then it's interesting because it's been very synchromistic since she said that, because someone posted their kind of like Hebrew Kabbalah workbook in the chat, which was talking about the Tiferet of Gevurah.
Right.
So that's why those kinds of, even though it seems like very normgroid Jew to practice that Kabbalah, that's actually Kabbalah. That's like metaphysical Kabbalah. It's just taking it down into extremely practical terms, which is where those things should be, but it's not where those things dwell. Those are just ideas where you embody your practice, but the speculative layer is just as important, because the speculative layer is how you get there. And it's also how you get there in your mind. It's not just embodied. It's something higher. It's something about, if you want to say God or Hashem or Diamond Thunder or Rigpa or a supernal consciousness or HGA. That's very Tiferatic, HGA. So you could say that. Or Dath. I like Dath because obviously DCS talks a lot about Dath. I'm a Tantric Buddhist. We call everything non-dual gnosis. So Dath, non-dual gnosis. 1-to-1, Aleph, Aleph. Yeah.
That in the idea of that with Doth, the invisible Sephirah, number 11, the idea is that if you choose to not give your ego at the door, so to speak, you're stuck there as in the Black Brotherhood. And so it's a really fascinating metaphor for the idea being that there was an 11th Sephirah, and upon the breaking of the initial tree, that Sephirah was fractured. And that's why there is the great abyss. And that's why that is what protects the higher three supernals from the great dragon below the tree, which is inverted that Sophic question, persona, which is then why we're witnessing, some would say, such a strange phenomena with our world, so to speak. And so it's such a off-kiltered balance between patriarchy and then this wanting to go backwards into the longhouse, right into, as you say it, this matriarchal society, which is utter nonsense as well, because we move forward in civilization as we grow through history and time. And again, these are just ways of perceiving reality in and of itself. But how can we change? How can we figure out truth again? Is to build such structures and destroy them with better structures as we continue to move forward, which I think is really important. I did want to answer this question. Jester Sinclair Vinci asks, "Hey Brandon, about the question I asked yesterday, just a reminder. If you had to start over from what you know today, what books would you recommend for magic?" And I've been thinking, this is a great question. I've been thinking about this a lot, because a lot of books come to mind, right? I do highly respect Israel Regardie's books, and would say that for me personally, it's like I bought Middle Pillar and his Tree of Life book, like that. I read those right away because they have a great frameworks and the structure that you can build up from. As well as Raja Yoga, which is Aleister Crowley, Swami Vivekananda, and it was his books to read. So because you must learn some kind of breath work in your meditational practices so that you can control your will, thus cleaning your imagination. And then you take that into the real world, actually doing your breathing practices as you're walking, and they just modify it a little bit. But I find that that there's just those two books, Raja Yoga, because you got to figure out how to meditate and breathe, finding single point awareness in that, and just to be able to control the nervous system, because none of the visualizations and awarenesses are going to work really well, and to truly help store information as you're going across it. Because you got to realize that the very first step about stepping onto the path is you have to hone the ability to become a scholar. And I think that's really, really, really important and wildly forgotten on the path of reading as much as possible, because truly you're just looking to remember something that you've known for a long time. So my pathway, I don't know. I haven't separated magic from philosophy and these different ways I go about understanding the world. And so I would say the number one book, if you want, I bought it when I was younger. I first started with Joseph Campbell, but Aleister Crowley's Book 4 is one of the greatest tomes. It's the big blue book. And if you wanted to figure out the quickest pathway to start your magical practice, I think that book is at basics a necessity, and at best, one of the best books of understanding your magical practice. But at the same time, reading things you can't get too full of yourself. So reading things like the Illuminatus trilogy and Prometheus Rising, so you can get the great understanding of what these questions are asking. Who is the master who makes the grass green? What is the nervous system, and how do we heal broken circuits so we can rise into the higher levels of the mind, higher levels of our consciousness, not just the mind, but of consciousness, because consciousness supersedes the material realm and the mind realm. And that's what, in the Hermetic works they're talking about when they speak of logos, and the different understandings of what a Hermes Trismegistus is doing. And so The Way of Mind by Hermes Trismegistus is a great book to read, because we're trying to just understand, what are you trying to do with your magical practice? So the question of asking what books are the best are Manly P. Hall, Secret Teachings of All Ages, because the thing is you're trying to go God mad. And I think that's a widely misunderstood term in the realms of magical, mystical, and all things, trying to understand what consciousness is. And what is the point? Because Nietzsche is a very important stepping stone in understanding that we must break down cultural relativism, break down our past understanding of what morality structures are and where they came from and what they do. And because I do believe that there's objective morality, but it's different than this like theosophic or the theistic ways of seeing morality, with God being the arbiter of all things in that Abrahamic sense. Because for me, it's different than that. And so it's a fascinating thing. You first got to write down, what is my point of becoming a magician? And for me, it's like, eventually you're going to figure out you're just trying to have your own levels of apotheosis. You're trying to become an anime character. Read and watch anime, right? People are going to be like, how the fuck can you bring up in the best ways to become a magician is then you bring up anime. And I'm like, yeah, read Aleister Crowley's book 4, read Israel Regardie's Middle Pillar and Tree of Life book, and then get into his Garden of Pomegranates. Because if you want to understand Kabbalah, it's one of the greatest books out there to just read and take notes, and then you at least have a fucking baseline to launch from. Because for me, it was also Israel Regardie's Big Black Book. But that's not for everybody. The reason I liked the Golden Dawn's book so much is because it satisfied an intellectual, like a very mercurial, but yet intellectual understanding of reality. Because I'm trying to fit things in all these boxes as I'm trying to understand my own ways to go about moving in reality as such. So then I'm like, what's another great magical book? Dune. Read fucking Dune if you want to understand what it's like out here in the world. If you don't want to read Dune, I please you to go back and read some classical literature at least. But Dune for me is one of the epitomous journeys on my journey to understand consciousness through time as somebody reaches prescience. Because once you're doing these things, you're going to have synchronicities. You're going to start seeing the world as one interconnected run. So what happens to your body, what happens to your mind, what happens to your external reality are all going to affect themselves. And so what happens is through your time, you're going to have to choose to use the sword of reason to cut away dead ends in your life. Because if you don't, as Carl Jung states, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you'll call it fate. And you will be a victim to society and to whatever these Illuminati, whatever these egregoric parasitic class are. And so fascinating enough, I'm talking about what are the best books to get. And so you have to read continually. And I would state, if I did it all over again, I wouldn't change a fucking thing, because I don't think my mind and my consciousness has the best ability to say how I should have done it. What if I picked up book 4 right away and just started learning? But that kind of happened for me. And so more for me is like, could have I trained my mind quicker so I didn't have to go through the fucking hippie revolution in my younger 20s and then get lost amongst the lotus eaters. And upon doing that, you finally, and it didn't take long, but I figured it out. But the idea is that I wish I would have honed my psychology a little bit better.
Well, that was the lie, right? That was the fucking bullshit that the sieve that they pushed us through as millennials. They were like, be leftist. Like, I knew I was a leftist when I was 14. Like, yo, that was exactly it. It was like, be dispersive of yourself. Like, yourself doesn't really fucking matter. You don't really matter. It is about the mass, the ipsos, the mass consciousness. Well, fuck that. And then we all made like a lot of people made like a rightward switch around 2020. The problem with a lot of the rightists is that the self is the only thing that matters. Yeah. But that is the truth is you not both wrong. Both are fucking wrong.
Both are wrong.
Because you can't live amongst other people, whether you consider that society or your family or any other person in this world. You cannot live among them if you are the only one that matters. It does not work like that. Our relationships do not work like that. And if you follow the Aeonic framework, we actually have to upkeep or maintain the treaty relationships between us and our non-human relatives. The land that we live on, the mountains, the oceans, the rivers, the things. That does not mean leftist bullshit. That just means like we have to have a kind of connection, a kind of reciprocity, agreement and reciprocity with those things. Yeah. I know you were talking about how the Golden Dawn book.
Yeah.
I'm trying hard not to vomit. I'm just kidding, sort of. Anyways, but they believe that the dragon is sort of corked in the lower abyss.
Yeah.
DCS has a really really novel approach, which I also totally agree with. And if you go back to 3 years ago and listen to those Aeon of the Daughter Spaces, before I had read DCS, I also said the same thing. Death doesn't really exist. Death is forged in synthesis and consciousness, and the entire tree, through the concept of Zimzum, can be understood to be the abyss, to be the spatial relationship between the sephira, just like the paths don't really exist until we build them ourselves.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I completely agree with that. Interesting enough, it goes to my theories and like my practice of the only way to create a superhero is to put them through this fallen world. And right, so which why I can't I can't remember who said it, but it's the idea that we are going through. We're like, what's going on right now is we're just witnessing Genesis backwards. I don't remember who said that. Somebody said that. And I really like that idea because, but the idea is that that's a fucking story that we're telling ourselves. All of this is just a story that we're telling ourselves, but there are better stories than other stories, which is why it's not a postmodern fad of this relativism that we're falling within. And so
right, there are obviously that's what the whole Aeonic framework is about. Who can tell the best story? So why don't you bring up the green book, Brandon, if you don't mind? Thank you. The next one.
Next one. Learning it, doing it live, people.
He's figuring it out. We're wearing our oxygen helmets right
now. Boom. Liber Chaos.
Liber Chaos. Do you want me to do it in French?
Please. Yes. I promised.
Okay. Liber Chaos. Approche chaotique de la magie, des pratiques, des rituels, et pactes. So, Liber Chaos, a chaotic approach to magic, practical rituals, and spirit compacts.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
French.
That was great. I feel good. Live on Magus in the Media.
Okay, so I did it in my most neutrally, continentally accent, so I didn't go full Quebecois. But we'll save that for a different day. We'll have to get really baked for that.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. So this is his second book. This is, in my opinion, the more important book simply because it outlines actual, like the pragmatic sort of, I call it fake math. That's how a lot of this book is. A lot of it is fake math. He creates, they're not fake, but he creates algebraic and formulations to sort of plug in so you can then do all the things that he's talking about. Practical chaos magic, basically. So you can plug it into other systems. You can plug iconography, ideas, your will, your like certain kinds of limitations. You can plug all that into the formulations. So it breaks it into a very, very pragmatic sort of thing. It also talks a lot about this idea of kinds of what magic is and who controls it. So you were talking about Robert and Anton Wilson as I stepped away from the mic for a few minutes. And I appreciated that greatly.
Of course.
But one of the ideas from Peter Carroll is that indeed we are the Illuminati now, motherfuckers.
Yeah, boom. I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Because the Illuminati had their shot. They had their shot and they shot their shot. They prematurely blew their load. So the truth is they did not do a good job in training enough magicians, training us about the nature, quality, and capacity, infinite capacity of the mind and of reality itself.
Yeah, so, it's the trip of modernity and the postmodern functionalist plight.
I mean, I don't even use those terms. I think that we can use a postmodern framework for, and maybe that's what you don't like about chaos magic, is it's very postmodern.
It's levels of deconstructionism without the reconstructing process.
Well, the thing is, Brandon, is that I come from a very traditionalist perspective, and I look at chaos magic as being, yes, a deconstruction, but that's exactly what people need. One of my first viral clips I ever made was about breaking fucking klipas. That's exactly what I said, and someone clipped me saying that. And there is no better way to break fucking
preconceptual ideas.
Yeah, nice.
Chaos magic.
It's true. Yes, but my problem with it is that if we go back to the actual history of things like Michel Foucault, Derrida, and all these characters, even the painter, whatever the fuck his name is, they're all CIA ops, and so we got to always ask ourselves, what is like, obviously going through levels of deconstruction and Discordianism and the things like all these things I like as well, and it's really important. And it is us getting too stuck into the certain
maybe
patterns.
The American spies were based. Maybe the CIA is based. Okay.
No,
the truth is that Golden Dawn is full of spooks too.
No, of course.
OTO is full of spooks too.
Yeah, OTO touches people. I get it.
Which ones do we like? MI6?
I agree. I agree.
I would rather go CIA because at least they're fucking American.
Yeah, that's your nationalism. I love that. Praise be. It's beautiful. That's hilarious. No, it's true. And I speak from, when I was talking about my dislike for postmodernism, it's my dislike for the institutional narratives that have now been used and this far left extremism. Because there's far right extremism, and that's why we're also destroying those motifs and models of reality. And the idea isn't even destroying; it's just trying to help people understand that falling too far to one direction is what's going to get us out of control. Because this level of chaos magic, it's a representation of something that Aleister Crowley did and Israel Regardie did as well as Austin Osman Spare when they disseminated the knowledge that the Golden Dawn held at that time frame. And then a lot of the magical current and the reason a lot of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn people, flunkies, whatever, a lot of the things they hate about Aleister Crowley is that they talk about how he disseminated secret knowledge of the rituals and then put that into the AA as well as a few other people that fell with them. And the idea is I'm all like, I don't have a problem with it. I think that's really important because we have to remember it's the pendulum swinging both ways and the Inquisition never ended. And so it's continually looking to search out these things and destroy them so other people can't use them to free themselves. And so I'm all about freeing themselves. However, sometimes a little too much knowledge is a little dangerous with a bunch of fucking idiots out there who use it, and it's causing so much flux. And so that's where my hierophantic energy kind of comes out, because then it goes back to this guru, charlatan, false teacher thing where people at these places are calling themselves things, teaching people and trying to help people in a way when they've taken one course, 2 courses, now they're selling a course. And now they're telling people that only they can heal them and they got curses on them. And I'm all like, you lost me. Let's go back to being under your own, masterhood. So,
look, Brandon, sorry, just give me a second. I think is that better?
That's great. That's great.
Okay.
That's that sultry
Sometimes
voice.
it works. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm sitting really close to it.
Sultry
basically
voice.
Kissing the mic right now.
Beautiful. Me too.
Making out with it.
Oh,
anyways, so
Freud would
I interviewed
love that.
someone who predominantly sells services. I was mostly polite because it was on my show. So obviously I was more polite than I would have been if I could have been more adversarial, I would have been, but I was quite adversarial. And look, if you claim you can clear karma, I think you're full of shit. I think if you claim you can heal terminal illness, I think for service fee, I think you're mostly, I don't believe in that. Like, I believe that you can, I actually believe in like things that are miraculous. I don't want to put limitations or fetters on people and tell them that magic can't do it. I do believe that magic can do it. It just is a matter of ability, single pointed will, focus, degree, and also the circumstantial components.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people who sell services, but it's not just sell services. And this is the really unfortunate thing. The occult podcast community is fucking filled with people who go on 1 or 2 shows, are like in their early 20s, and somehow think that they are hot shit because they can get a couple thousand YouTube views on someone else's show.
Yeah.
On some fucking Astro Twitter former foot sex workers, astrology channel. That doesn't make you anything. That makes you look like a fucking grifter. So then you go sell classes. Like, who the fuck are you? I'm really asking. I really want to know. Like, everybody on esoteric Twitter hates me. That's fine. I'll take it. I'll be the fucking villain. They want to see Baddie Jin. They got it. But my problem is like all these people are so happy to take your fucking money. And I literally don't even tell people to listen to my show. I only say that I want to have discursive, productive, generative discussions about high-level Kabbalah, about high-level Buddhism, about Tantra. Those are the things I actually fundamentally care about. And all people seem to want. And I'm not lamenting myself or saying like I'm an unknown quantity. I know what my show is and I know what I am. I know I'm niche. I've always been niche. I will die niche. Okay? Live niche or die trying. That's
a new shirt. You should make that shirt, bro. That's a shirt.
A bar.
Nice. Yeah, throwing bars.
Right, throwing bars. That's what my show is. So that's who I am, maybe. So the reality is I know that. But I'm not asking people to even like, subscribe, or anything. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't. You, Brandon.
Oh, I fucking do. You all should like, subscribe, and share. You fucking hooligans.
And I'm fine with material services. I promote. We have Cassandra. We have Vanessa. Truth and Dives. We have Cassandra. Who's a content creator who has Etsy store, who offers oracle card and tarot services and astrology services. We have Vanessa. I'm having Kaiva on. I will obviously promote the shit out of her services. We have Eros. She kind of dabbles, but like if she did, it would be great because she's excellent at it. So I'm completely fine with people offering services. My problem is like your services should not become your fucking identity, and it definitely does not make you a guru. And you see this a lot, and I'm not even talking about anyone specifically, really, but I'm definitely referring to every fucking account, right-hand path account, specifically right-hand path account, but there are a lot of left-hand path accounts that do this too. They are not like absolved in any way of this. They have their own networks and their own ways of going about grifting and fleecing people out of money. Maybe nice. So in your face. But a lot of these people that belong to supposedly Masonic or supposedly Golden Dawn or supposedly OTO that would say like love, light, and peace and like so close to fucking New Age. And as I said last episode, I have no problem with New Age. Everybody needs a hermeneutic. Everybody needs a starting point. The normgroids need their catch-all kind of cosmology that is accepting. That's fine. What I have a big problem with, though, is when you are getting into like this miracle working, this like using practices that you should not be using. And people will be like, oh, Jin's being like old-fashioned, like what do they call like a trad fag? That's what they say, the kids say. Trad fag. So they'll be like, he's not letting us, he's gatekeeping. That's what they love to say. Gatekeeping the good Buddhist magic. It's dangerous. That's really what it is. It's not about gatekeeping. It's like, can you fucking do it? If you can't do 6 weeks of Vajrasattva, you really think you can do a higher Dakini Naga? I don't think so. I really don't, because that will be the true test. That's how I do it. So why would I teach you anything less? People don't want my way. That's fine. I'm not trying to tell people my way. Like, I'm not trying to say that this is the way. I'm just saying that this was a way that worked for me.
Yeah,
that's it.
I think that's
my way is pretty traditional, but my way is also not that hard. My way is you put in the mala recitations and you get there in your mind. You keep reading, you keep practicing, you keep learning, and you keep going. Like Cassandra just said, some gatekeeping is good. I totally agree. I used to feel the complete opposite. I used to think, just let the knowledge fucking go, just let it be out. No, you have to keep yourself, your Malkuth, number one, protected. Your practices should be private.
Yeah, and that's shouting out to all you fuck faces who try to put onto Instagram or Twitter your goddamn rituals. We see you for who you are.
Honestly, that is so bad.
It's so bad.
Do that. If people are doing that,
so disgusting.
Stop
it's
now.
disgusting.
Do not reveal the deities that you pray to. Keep that inside. That is where they should dwell.
Yeah. Which is my problem with these fucking both the left and the right, but like why the issue with the nationalistic Christian right movements that are like trying to make everything their religion, and if anything, like it's so fascinating that we forget that this country was built off the ideals of many religions and not worshiping but one. You know, there's no worshiping of one. It never said anything about that.
Look, those
this is not a Christian nation.
Those trad cuck Christians.
Yeah.
Are not getting their kind of monocultural like world back.
No.
But I'm not against them either.
No, of course not.
They practice a Mithraic religion. Like, who am I to say? I grew up Roman Catholic. I've talked about it 10 million times. If you want modern Mithraism, go join RC. Yeah. If you want like Christian mysticism at the institutional level, join Greek Orthodoxy. It's pretty simple. It really is pretty simple. If you want Eastern non-duality, go find a Vajrayana center. If you want to do just straight up like more secular Zen, go do Zog or go do Zen.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. It really is. If you want magic is not a substitute for religion.
It's not.
And it's not meant to be.
No.
It's meant to be an amendment to the path. But what is really interesting about like Vajrayana or Taoism or Gnosticism, neo-Gnosticism, as in like, yes, OTO, but maybe going way beyond that. Well, definitely going way beyond that. Is that actually there's magic in those stories. So this goes back to like the story of what we think it should be. The Golden Dawn believes the serpent is trapped in the abyss. Tantra would not say that. Tantra would say that he has the capacity to be liberated, just like all beings have the capacity to be liberated, as well as he is also able to climb the tree. And in fact, one of the tantric understandings is that Rahu sits in front of Venus and his tail, Ketu, the smoky part, sits in front of Mercury or Hod. Well, that's really interesting. But he also can climb up the tree. And as a heated debate that is probably replicated hundreds of thousands of times over, how to reconcile him with the outer three. Well, this is very easy for me. So I say that Uranus is relational to Rahu and Neptune is relational to Ketu. And Pluto is the clearance planet, just like if you use the tantric sort of cosmology, you assign them to be a supernal deity. So the supernal deity to Pluto actually is the destroying god of Rahu Ketu. So it actually makes a lot of sense. And
Tell me why.
Like, and so I just feel like we make a big mistake by saying that we can't have. I don't believe that the world should be like conceptual, story, cosmo-poetic less. And I don't believe it should be cosmopoetic in multiplicity of retardation. Like, so many paganisms are absolutely retarded. So many reconstructions are so low IQ. So much hanging, so much bullshit, so much it's just too much. But I do think that there are some things that are useful, that are gems within those. That's a very dharmic way to think. There are seeds, pomegranate seeds, which we can draw from. It takes someone who's a very skilled Kabbalist, it takes someone who's a very skilled magician, it takes someone who's a very skilled sorcerer to winnow the seeds into something that is usable. Well, if the word is what is truly axial, perennial, primordial, then what we need are the words. And then what we can do with the words is we can reconstitute the whole fucking thing. That's the whole idea. And so that's also the idea in chaos magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. No, that's brilliant. And again, it's like the exoteric or the outer regions of institutions and things like that. So it's like those things are very important, but we're not wanting to get caught up in all the muck. And the idea is create your own mythos, right? As shout out to Miguel Connor is you must find your own myth, write your own gospel, or you understand. But think about it, and it's this idea is that you can get caught up in somebody else's myth, and understand the beauty of these scriptures and the gospels, and on these things, because you should, right? Psalms is beautiful, these ancient grimoires are beautiful, right? The Lotus Sutra chant.
I just want to say I don't agree with Miguel when he says that.
That's fine. And I do, because that is the levels of postmodernism that I actually, because that is quite postmodern saying. But I only find that it's important because of his understanding of Philip K. Dick and the dystopian nature of our reality of the Black Iron Prison writing these things for you. And so that's kind of where he's coming at it from. And I think it's a really important statement to be made in a day and age where everyone, like right now, there's all these fights about Acts, Luke, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, these epitomous characters of the Bible, and who was correct. And so you get these Orthodox bros fighting with the Catholics, and you get there's just all of this fighting, and you get it on the left too, but it's more happening there, and it's so fascinating that just fills up people's minds when it's like, this is utter fucking nonsense. You're arguing who's better, Beethoven or Mozart, and that goes back to my ideas that I'm going to bring up forever for the rest of my fucking life, and that these are just models of reality, and that you are imprinting into yourself, trying to understand the great expanse of existence, something that you were thrown into, something that we don't, that then we cater towards a mommy and a daddy figure that are trying to tell us and teach us things, which is really important, but it's time to grow up, because in this day and age, you have to do this yourself. No one's going to save you until you're on your deathbed in the end, and you realized that you had somebody else this whole time create your meaning for you. And you kept doing somebody else's work, when in the high levels of Kung Fu, you've now mastered all of the elements. In Avatar: The Last Airbender, you've mastered the highest levels of Kung Fu. What do? You go create your own Kung Fu. Right. And then that is what is disseminated to people to be taken and dialogued with and different things like that. But it's like,
I agree with you, Brandon, that the story is axial. So we will need new heroes for new aeons.
Yes.
Just like we need new aeons for new times, for new yugas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're not necessarily in like disagreement on that. Where I do think contours to something that approximates the truth. Not all stories are made equal. Not everyone's mind is made equal. Not everyone's karma is equal. Not everyone is prepared to understand the deeper or more esoteric story.
No, it takes time.
So, like, who is going to decide what that is? I just tend to think of it as like outer temple, inner temple, secret temple. Secret temple is mind palace shit.
Yeah.
Inner temple is learning esoterica like hardcore, like we all do. Outer temple is the religion that you practice, that you go to and pray. Whatever that is. Should it be antinomian to Christianity? No. In my opinion, if it's antinomian to Christianity, you are totally getting it wrong. Should it be Christianity? I don't know. Should it be as Christianity as it is now? Probably not. So people can reconcile that. I'm not a Christian, so people can reconcile that on their own. Do I think it's paganism? No. I said this the last time. I've said this many times. I think paganism takes people into multiplicity. I think they don't understand what they're praying to. I think they're giving away their agency to these not higher beings. Man is the higher being.
Yeah.
You're giving your agency away to people who dwell at the Deva realm. And this is a Buddhist way to think of it. People who will see you re-enter samsara 20 million times or 100 million times or whatever it is. They don't care. They're both personal and impersonal, the Devas. They are not like deeply connected to us like how people want to act like.
Yeah.
So that's why we go higher. That's why Buddhism posits the ontological layer. Now I'm going to take a crack at Buddhism. Should the outer temple be Buddhism of how it is represented in either the West or the East? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think a lot of the trappings are that useful in terms of like their pedagogical approach to the West. I don't think the way that Dharma centers are set up as sort of like their reception halls, basically for Reuben Foundation money. I'm not a big fan of that, like the NGO complex, you know, like it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, that is fucked up. No, I agree.
And so, you know, I don't know. Maybe it is. I think we return with a V to the quiet Gnosticism of the early, like, 1st and 2nd and 3rd century AD. I think we do this on the internet discursively, talking about the Gnostic framework. We are the ones who should be crafting the Gospels, not necessarily writing them, but crafting them and putting them into digestible packets through metamagic, through mimetic magic, putting it online. That's what I think 2026, that is what the KO should be doing.
Fucking right it is. That's what we're doing. And that's what we're doing here at both Threshold Saints and Magus in the Media. And I think it's really important. I nailed it. I mean, there's no other way to do it, because you get all these great, fantastic stories in both anime and comic books and all these different mediums of the mythopoetic, the classical literature, the science fiction, and the fantasy, mostly in anime. I'm like, fuck it. We need to let everybody know how and there's actually, I have to do a Frank Herbert breakdown on one of his books that he did, and it's actually How to Craft a God. It's quite brilliant, but I'll bring that up later. But the idea is that when you're watching these things, so if the medium is the message, right, and Marshall McLuhan, the idea becomes that it's like, it doesn't quite matter what the content is. It still does. But what he's trying to get at is that we've gone from being an experiential being, like physical, interacting with writing and words in the public square and reading, to now taking in all this content where you lose your body. And all of a sudden you become this amorphous thing through time. That time slightly disappears because we all can listen to things through thousands and thousands of miles, and it's like, I'm not anywhere near you in space, but my words are right there for you. And so the medium being this more it is a more like it's, and I will state that I think it's a virtual astral thing, because what the true one is what you're working on in your magical practice and your mystical practices. But I think it's also important to see how the medium is the message, how we are interacting on a day-to-day basis, how that's also consciousness moving itself through the outward exploration and evolution towards this massive merger. But yet we still must understand, that's why like the touch grass, ancient revival, get back to the earth as Palantir's creating the panopticonic system. You, in your individual space on the farm, wherever you are, should have your own garden. You should, be taking care of your own chickens. You should be creating space with others, because as much as we're talking about magic in this more abstract, contemplative, conceptual realm, the real thing to do, and this is what I dropped my reel today when I was talking about it, is that magic and mysticism need to be done in the world. You need to not just talk about it. You need to live these things. And that's what it means in like anime such as JJK, when they're going up against all these curses and cursed users, and they're trying to defeat these egregoric demons out in the world that normal people can't see on a daily basis, but they feel it when they're around.
Totally. I'm a big fan of this idea, Brandon, of people, if you learn to tame your own mind, you can affect the ground that you walk on. Yeah. So if you learn to do a little tantra, yes, a little tantra, I'm saying it full on. If you learn to do a little Dita yoga, you too can actually learn to tame the spirits of the land. But those spirits also firstly begin in your own mind, because the way that they will present themselves to you, if they are ferocious or kindly, if they're seductive or indifferent, that starts in your own mind. So that's a good place for every magician to start. Yeah. Secondly, I want to address what Cassandra said. Yeah, she's like, I like what Jin says, thank you, Skywife, about how we need to move forward. Most of the pagan gods and goddesses are dead anyway. Yes, because the thing is, gods and goddesses die. Now, do we understand this conceptually, as in they actually enter the samsaric cycle? Well, Buddhism would say yes. Gods and goddesses do die, and they enter into a samsaric cycle. They can be reborn, and in fact, a god when a god dies, they are actually usually intended for a hell rebirth. Interesting, right? And maybe this explains something of Goetia. Maybe this is why it's not just like the evil Christians renaming the demons god names. Maybe there's actually like some deeper shit in that. Maybe the idea is that some gods from heaven actually did get a hell rebirth. And this is why we have to kind of reject dualism. We should not remain strictly focused on the 33 gods of the Tengri pantheon, the heavenly white hat shaman gods, or the 99 gods, the 99 black hat shaman gods of Tengriism, of the underworld. We don't need to be fixated on either forces. That's why I like the Gray Lodge, because we can just be gray and, of course, pink, which is the aeonic color. We can move forward with the aeons. The aeons are love, will, and life. Nuria, Seth, and Zoe. It's a very easy framework. They exist in tradition, but they can also exist in neo-Gnosticism. This is what Frater Achad got right. He understood that the Gnosticism is meant to be dynamic. It is meant to continue with us. The aeons are us. The aeons arise in our own minds. That's the whole point of Gnosticism.
The whole point.
So, that is, in my opinion, that is why Gnosticism, if you want to call it neo-Gnosticism, I'm having a hard time saying it. I apologize.
I almost puked. Did you see that? I twinged a little bit.
Okay, I apologize. Ooh. I don't know why. Maybe you took a little too many for something fun. I don't know, Brandon.
That's beautiful.
Anyways, it's meant to work. It's meant to walk with us. It's meant to walk with the axial age, and like Buddhism is very Gnostic. I say this so many times, and people never believe me, and I find it really frustrating, because Buddhism posits that we are neither spirit nor body purely. We are both at the same time, very non-dual. Just like the garden is also the carnal ground. Yeah. We reconcile what we are and how we exist in reality and what we understand reality to be in our own minds. That's the ultimate kind of Gnosticism. Oh, yeah. We are literally aiming for gnosis, non-dual gnosis, at every turn. That does not mean we find it there, but we actually have to have a story to express what we are looking for. And the story cannot just be, as I said, if we take death out of the tree itself, we have to make it. Well, what then are we looking for? You cannot look for something that is not there. So if you offer the trinity of love, life, and will, from that, you can go to death and make something interesting. There it is. The aeon of the daughter. That's all it is.
Nice. No, that's beautiful. No, I think that's fantastic. And I think that's really important to know. And fascinating enough, I think it's interesting. I actually do, it's so fascinating. I will state SMS this idea also. I don't believe pagan gods were humans. It's do you see how you said, what's this B word right here? This believe, who cares? I mean, that's my first thing. And most likely it's an amalgamation of legends and, religions and people, because technically the minds of men have created all things, you know what I mean? And it's not an ego trip or a solipsism, or what is gods and the divine. I agree, obviously, and it's obviously that most pagan gods weren't real people, but at the same time, why not? Who cares? What if they were? And so I don't even want to talk about paganism. That's kind of how I feel. Jin, do you feel I find it's like a silly Christian, I hate pagan talk again, or the pagans are like, your Abrahamic God is stupid.
No, you're right. I don't think that anyone online represents what they really are.
Yeah.
I think that's true. I don't think that's just an online phenomenon. I think that is true in most of the time. I think people do not have strong convictions. I think this is nowhere more true than religion. I think that people will pick stupid battles because of another podcaster that you and I both know. He has some severe daddy issues because his daddy was a Lutheran Israel lover, and like everything he like says, if it's not derived from me or some other podcaster, Gnostic informant, you should listen to his stuff. Anyways, the point is, if he whenever something original, Kel shock horror, exits from his large gaping hole in his face, besides being derivative, it is filtered through his decades-long hatred of women and his own daddy issues. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything that people don't already know. This is exactly the truth. And so I think that those kind of people are provocateurs. They're not smart. People are saying Plato is a rabbinical Jewish conspiracy. It's the most retardational thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
And I've heard so much.
And I think the Christians online are retarded too. I think the Buddhists are online are retarded too, if you want me to be honest. I think saying this is what this is, this is what this is. Are you a fucking Protestant? We don't use sutras. We don't use one-liners from sutras to explain our entire cosmology or worldview or how we understand Dharma to be. That is not how Buddhism works. If you want that kind of religion, then you need to too be a Lutheran. And so I just prefer to say I'm a Buddhist. I'm a practicing tantric Buddhist, but I am in my kind of cosmological and maybe even ontological concerns. I'm a Gnostic. I'm much more comfortable starting to say that.
Yeah.
And and like about the Odin Bros.
Odin Bros. I think that's
okay. Look. If you want to call it Odin, that is your fucking business. That is totally your business. I have no problem with that. I will never agree. I'll never be like, yeah, if I'm the, great Kabbalah master of 2026, Jin is, we'll say I am because I think so. I'm not gonna be like, yeah, that's where it is. No, I don't care what I know I am because wasn't talking about Odin. That's you. That's a we was Kang. You are applying your ideas of the world to the tree.
Yeah. And I like 100%. This. I like this. What crushing nihilism. You come on here. I do like what he says. I just don't. It doesn't matter. That's not what it is. We're not looking for the smoky figure at Hokmah. That's not the finality. Of course not.
That's not the end of the goal.
No.
That's like, do you want to be a brownoid? Like that's what Indians believe. The Vaishnavas.
The Vaishnavas. That's exactly.
They believe that they're going back to Narayana, the sleeping god, the god that sleeps on the seven-headed or nine-headed serpent of the supernal waters. We are just going back to sleep, and just like humanity, our souls get recycled back into endless samsara. No, I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I believe that liberation is possible. I don't know how long it could be. I don't know your karmas. I can't give you an idea of how you can achieve it. But I know that people have talked about this for thousands of years. I choose to believe that magic is real. I know magic is real. And I know that death is the point. Hokmah is just one way to get there. So I personally don't really care about what anyone's figurative godhead is. Yes, I do deity practices. Yes, I will even do worldly enlightened deities. No problem at all. But I also understand them as part of the cosmic story. I don't need a fucking all-father to tell me what to fucking do. I follow the aeon of the son and the daughter. That's for me. Everyone else can do whatever the fuck they want. And I've always said that, and I've always maintained that. So if Odin Bros want to take issue or take umbrage with me because I'm not reifying them or reaffirming them, I'm sorry. That is a discursive issue, and you will have to prove to me that that is the name that appears. I don't agree. Get better at Kabbalah. Maybe you can win me over.
It's beautiful. Yeah, Doth being the point where wisdom and understanding unite and become knowledge. Quite beautiful.
Let me respond to crush and nihilism, and I'm not angry at crush and nihilism. You're calling figures Odinic, meaning that you are seeing this Odinic archetype where it may or may not exist. I don't care about your perceptions. I don't care about your perceptions. Perceptions are klipas. We move past the husks. We seek the Omer.
Well, that and what? Yeah, hey, and what? Cassandra, right? Yeah, what Cassandra was talking about is you can read it in the beginning of Manly P. Hall that Odin was a title given to somebody, not just always like this godlike figure.
What is Odin? Like, what is Odin? Yeah. Odin is it's really just it's Gesar of Ling. If you want the Buddhist equivalent, that's the Buddhist equivalent. He's a sky sorcerer. He rides a horse, a wind horse, and he rides on what is called the words, the mantra. Okay, that's a very Odinic, quote unquote, figure. We don't even have to view him as an Odinic figure. We can say that all figures that are alike to him are actually Gesar.
Yeah.
I am not fighting ghosts. I'm saying that I don't give a fuck about your Odinic cosmology. That's not fighting ghosts. If I was fighting ghosts, I would just invoke Vajra Yogini and wipe all the beings of the portal down. Your map is your map. Yeah. And worry about your own map and don't worry about mine. That's where we go. Don't use we to describe it. If you want to pray some weak ass Germanic god, that's your fucking business. That really is. It's none of mine.
It's true. And you're right. And
the Hungry Ghost. Go listen to The Cure, Mr. Crush and Nihilism. Hungry Ghost. That's you. You're grasping at something. I'm not grasping at anything. I don't have a fixation on outer husk names.
They are, obviously, and the idea is what we're wrapping this around from last week into this week is that those outer husk names are what get wrapped into things and you start to worship them and you forget your own mastery. And so I don't understand the idea of worshiping anything else besides the God above gods, right? And the God above gods, it's not Kether. We're talking about the combination of the triplicities of the Ein Sof, Ein Sof Hour. That's all it's always been. And from the Ein, you gain Ein Sof, this lightning, this brilliance.
The fucking name Odin. Yeah. Unless you're going to position him at Ein Sof 4. That's it. And he doesn't
you can't. There. And you can't because there's no he there. Yeah.
Goodbye.
Nice. And I wish that was a easy understanding. It goes back to the question of like, what are the books that I would get right away if I were to start magic? And it was the exact books I got because of why the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life has been so important in these things is that it's the most beautiful of cabinets to put within all of these ideas and names, right? It's like names and things, and you just got to put them places. And as you're putting them places, you can have such a beautiful structural system that eventually you're going to have to annihilate when you reach this point that he keeps speaking about, he being Jin. That point is Doth. That is the great abyss. And as we cross those things, and I'm not ever going to say that I've ever crossed the abyss.
We don't have to say that Doth is the abyss.
No, but they're not Doth is, but that's the abyss there. You're right. Thank you. There's a difference. Doth isn't the abyss. Doth is the hidden Sephirah within the abyss. It is within the abyss.
Does the abyss exist? This is the DCS question. This is the DCS paradox.
Yeah, I hear that.
Does Doth exist? I would say it doesn't. I think you cross the threshold out Yesod to enter into Samech, the secret space between the moon and the sun.
No, I like that.
That is how you go to the intersection between Bina and Hokmah. And you bring those two polarities into synthesis, and you use that synthesis to either travel upwards towards Kether or downwards back to Malkuth.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I know what you're saying, and it goes back to why the mythopoetic lens of just seeing these things through that way, because witnessing it as straight up an abyss and Doth is hidden, all these things can be a detriment to. How do you ever clean the tree up if you will forever be working from a framework that's broken? Does that make sense? Is like if we can work from the framework of the foundation, the fountain is actually what Alan Moore calls it, the fountain in Promethea. The hidden Sephirah is called, that's what he names it, and who knows what he's getting that from, but I find that to be beautiful for my own understanding because I like that.
No, I really resent this thing about hungry ghosts. I don't worship fucking ghosts. I don't worship fucking klipas. I don't worship fucking devas. I don't worship fucking asuras. I don't worship fucking yakshas. I don't worship that shit. So you can go with that, and you can go and figure out your own hungry ghost. That's the truth. You are fighting ghosts, and you are looking at me as if I'm fighting ghosts because I have conquered the bardo ground. I have conquered the carnal ground of my own fucking mind. So I know what exists there and what doesn't. I don't need a daddy figure to arise and to give me a spanking.
No, never. That Jupiter, yeah, no, I don't, yeah. That's hilarious. Fucking hungry ghosts. That's beautiful. Nice. Thank you, Jin.
It's a great song by The Cure, by the way.
Yeah, The Cure.
Ghost. It really is a great song. One of my favorite songs.
That's fine. I'm not a hater, but I don't give a fuck about The Cure, and so a lot of people do, and it's just such an interesting. I get it. It's probably a great song. I don't know. I think they're overrated, but again, I'm not. I've never been really big into that punk scene. I don't really. I know that's a hot take. Hot take. I don't like The Cure. No, it's not even true. I don't even not like them. I just don't know them. Okay, nice. I'm glad we figured that out. Okay. Well, I do think that was beautiful. Jin, how do you feel?
I could literally slay and flay a couple more bodies, but
well, we'll get there. No, I'm fine. No, I like slay and flay, and so this is good. But I do want to bring it up on what's going on in the world and why it's so important to continue to slay and flay. And that comes to the death of David Wilcox, one of the and everyone moves on into the world, and it's sad how this may have happened, or not sad whatsoever. I don't think anyone should die, especially due to mental illness. And that's really sad. But the idea is that there are institutions out there that are pumping up people into these mental illnesses, and Gaia is one of them. And so that's part
I do want to. I'm sorry, Brandon.
Good.
I'm moving away from like being mad.
Yeah.
And this is just discursively mad. This is just ideas mad. I'm not actually.
No.
Mad. This is
we're just flaying swords.
Exactly. Right, flaying and praying, flaying over here. Okay, look. Unverified personal gnosis is every magician's greatest bane. You cannot believe in everything that you see. This is true if you are a fucking summoner. Like I used to do a lot of the Solomonic work. We just did a show on that on Reject.
Yeah, listen, yeah.
If you listen to that show, you'll be like, oh, Jin knows what the fuck he's talking about. Because, yeah, I do know what the fuck I'm talking about. I used to do a lot of that spirit work, okay? Just because something appears before you does not make it what it says it is.
I will say that it's rules number one. Rule number one. Rule fucking number one.
Magician rule number one.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep. Crowley writes it in all the things. It's super important.
Your unverified personal gnosis, whether you believe that is true, that is fine. Yeah. That is your belief system. I am perfectly entitled to not only challenge it if you try and impose it on me, and also I do not have to believe it just because you are saying Odin appears to you. That makes you the special snowflake. I reject that. I'm not saying you're not a special snowflake. I'm sure Crush Nihilism is a very special snowflake. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he has Buddha nature. He's worthy of love. All of those things. Okay? He's worthy of my compassion. He's worthy of my attention. I agree. If you want to say he's a saint, we're like Rebbe Nachman style, fine. I agree. But I don't have to agree with phenomena of your own mind and how you have framed it. Now, can a spirit appear before you? Can a higher force appear before you? Sure. Would I call it Odin? If it appeared to me, I'm not calling it Odin. So maybe we are experiencing the same thing, but I'm understanding it at a higher ontological level.
For sure. No, I agree. But it's also not even sometimes you can just be wrong. Not you. On high lot. Yeah, that's a very
testable. Wisdom science should be testable. Yes, testable. It should not be, the spirit appeared before me, A to Z. Told me to do this, so I do this, and you do not check how like what the spirit is telling you. It's like the John Dee paradox. They just did, like, he supposedly received the angelic and the goetic voices, and then they just did it. And then John Dee also talked about how the angels of the air lie the most. Well, this is so different than modern, like even the Golden Dawn. They don't fucking teach you that.
They don't.
They're not saying that the angels of the air lie the most. Well, why do the angels of the air lie the most? Because what travels through the airwaves gets the most distorted. They may not even know they are distorting the word. It just means that they are not omniscient. Okay? I don't think that the God or the spirits or anything like that has to be omniscient. You can work with spirits whomever you want. If you want to pray to the oak tree, pray to the fucking oak tree in your yard. If you want to, I don't know, like, what's a deity? Well, it's not stupid. I understand that you want to cultivate a relationship with the Yakshinis or the spirit of like this 200-year-old oak or whatever it is, or the spirit of the land. I believe in all those things, but I just do not think that they are supernal to man, and no deva is said to be supernal to man. So I'm just not going to accept that some deity, some rando deity, is supernal to me. But if he is in fact this ontological figure who permeates the multiverse, then tell him that I would like to talk to him, that I would like to see him, that I am the special snowflake too, because I have some fucking questions on the nature of reality. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. That was quite beautiful. No, nice. I think all that is very important to the topics at hand with what we're talking about, and that's pretty fire. I think it goes back to, not worshiping the map and understanding the territory. This language that we've encoded ourselves within, and what happens when we entrap ourselves within certain egregores, which is then why I've never, like, gone to be a part of any of these institutions as such, is due to, like, I'm trying to deconstruct and reconstruct from a new egregore. What happens if I get caught within the old? And it's like, well, then you won't be properly initiated. And that's where I get this pain of pure wanting to, like, kind of like, show me your, kind of the fire you brought earlier. It's like, show me your kung fu then, if you think that these levels of initiation can be quantified by, because when it comes down to it, practice is, I will always preach to practice, but at the same time, it's like, it's only through experience in the world and getting out of the dojo and finally testing your mettle with other players of the game do you truly have the ability to level up on this.
Well, let me respond to Crushin, because I gave him a really hard time. This is not directed at you. I actually like you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for posting questions. Awful. No, I'm serious. Like, we're doing discursive. We're doing Gevurah. We're doing Gevurah today. Okay, you're getting a good lesson in Gevurah. This is a very good point. All liminal beings seem somewhat dishonest. I think to project form in itself is somewhat dishonest. Yes, we call it in Buddhism or Tantra, existence appearance is not primordially true. That does not mean it isn't relatively real. Now, this is a very fine point I have found when I've explained it to other people, but it makes perfect sense to me when I say it. But human minds need form. Correct. This is why.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, obviously.
This is why we Tantric Buddhists do a practice called Maha Yoga. Because then we are fully in control of the way the deity arises. Now, you'll be like, Jin, well, maybe not you, but other people, Cassandra, my skywife, is in the room, as is Vanessa. And so maybe they will say, Jin, we have heard you say so many times the dakinis are self-arising on the primordial ground. Yes, dakinis are self-arising on the primordial ground. Dakinis are fucking special. We're not talking about dakinis. We're talking about Odin. Right?
Bro.
I'm just saying.
I don't think many people really get my vein on my phone. I know I didn't realize that vein until I fucking started streaming with you. You're hilarious.
So what I'm saying is yes, we do deity yoga, so we can define the contours of the form of the vessel that the deity arises in using the traditional tantric iconography. People want to call that like what did I call it? I made a really funny joke about that. Trad fag. So if you want to say that the tonkas are trad fag, that's fine.
And you have to say it like that. You have to say trad fag.
Yeah. You have to do NPR voice, right? I knew that. So basically, we use those forms because those forms have encoded symbolism, magic.
Yeah.
Indeed, magic, colors, Sephirotic colors, ideas, understandings, sort of layers, like the Pardes layers in those forms. So by giving the contours of that, we allow the deity to arise into those forms, which is really enlightened energy, diamond thunder.
Nice.
So it can take that form in the world and in our own minds. We do not see, this is the thing. A lot of tantrics are sorcerers, so I'm not speaking for all tantra. Okay? I'm really not. I've learned my lesson on this. Lots of tantrikas worship the hosts, unfortunately. There's a lot of retards in all religions. It's just the truth. Okay?
And you're talking, that's Tibetan Tantra, right?
Yes. Well, all Tantra.
And I know, there's some,
But I do not worship the hosts.
Yeah.
Personally.
Dharma Ocean,
I go higher.
And fucking Crestone, Colorado is
correct. I don't even worship like Mahakali or Sri Devi. Like all the modern tantrics, they all like love the Kali figure and the Tibetan Kali figure who's called Sri Devi Palden Lamo. And then Mahakala. I like Mahakala better. That's my preference. So maybe you can, I don't know, draw some conclusion about me and my relationship with the evil Saturn. But I like Mahakala. He is the king of the hosts. So I don't give a fuck about the other hosts. I go to the king. That's pretty much.
No, but that's a great point of like, why would you go to a lesser fucking god when you can go to the, I mean, Odin's a pretender. He calls himself the All-Father. It's like, bitch, no, you can die and rise just like the rest of us. And so why are we stopping at one sphere when we can work every sphere and every path? That's the path of the magician. We go all the way up. That's the path of the magician. It's like, what are you talking about? It's wild.
Correct. Because even if we want to do activity, this is why I like dakinis so much. The dakinis arise in the 5 colors naturally because they are self-arising. They arise in the spectral ray. They arise as pink because they are pink. They are luminous and massless in the emptiness that is space. So the reality is I just reject the Goesha. And I got in a big fight, or not fight. It was like a friendly discourse, but it was very fiery with Frater RC on Rejects. I'm just referencing it because people can go listen to it.
That was last year?
No, it was, we did just the episode this year. We did a month ago on the Klipas.
Yeah.
I do not look at angels and goetic spirits as different. They might
No, you can't. I completely agree.
Different, but they are not fundamentally different. They are one is a shadow
of themselves,
and one is the explosive kind of over effulgent light. This is a tantric trick too. If a host appears before you and they are so effulgent that they blind you from seeing what their face really looks like, that's not God. That's a host. 100%. I've heard this hundreds of times. I've heard high-level tantrics talk about this. I've heard Indian tantrics talk about this. I've heard ritual magicians talk about this. I've personally experienced this. You do not believe a host. And it's not even about like the host being real or not real. It is about like what level of reality are you accessing, like Cassandra's talking about. Archangel Michael always appeared as a demon to me. That is like my experience, interestingly enough, with Michael, just like almost like a extremely left-hand path, ferocious figure. But that might have also been part of my own mind. Yeah. And so he appeared in that way, sort of quote unquote straighten me out, or like, like be a very corrective Geberatic force. So that is also the part of like angels and demons. It is not so simple as to say like, all the pagans online will be like, oh, the Christians are stealing our ancient Hyperborean ways. Wah. And then the Christians will be like, y'all pagans, we subjugated you in the Crusades. Like, we need to like send you all back to like the dark forests of Africa. And like, honestly, we can send you both back to the dark forests of Africa because you're both living in low consciousness. That's not aeonic consciousness. To be worried about like what system came first. The primordial system is the closest thing we understand to what the primordial system is, in my opinion, is Zoroastrianism. I'm not talking about late stage Zoroastrianism. I'm talking about old pre-5th century BC Zoroastrianism. Everything goes. People are worshiping demons. The people are sacrificing children to this eagle, this Garuda. They're doing Lilith. They're doing this. They're doing this. They're doing.
What's fascinating is we're kind of in that realm, and it does piss me off a little bit with all the fucking little witches and witch talk nonsense, though. So there's like parts of me that are kind of
look. That part of magic is retardational. It is as bad as outer temple, institutional religion. It has nothing to do with real magic. It is to take people off the path. It is a total distraction from the truth. It is a total distraction from Gnosis. It is a total distraction from the Merkaba. It is a total distraction from Hecalot. It has nothing in common with the things we are doing. And it also is not like people will sell paganism in the most trite way, or witchcraft, I should say, like Wicca witchcraft. And I don't have a problem with Wicca. I really don't. I know people are like, oh my God, Jin hates like everyone. And yeah, I do hate everyone, but I don't hate everyone in the same degree. So Wiccans to me are not that bad because actually they're learning Kabbalah, which Gardner talked a lot about if you actually go back and read it.
Because he took it from Crowley. He learned from Crowley. Thank you. Yeah.
Correct.
So all you fucking Wiccans are a bunch of Crowleyites. You hate the man, but you took from the man.
That's what it is. So this is the other thing. But even Wiccans. So I'm gonna put Wiccans. I'm gonna put them in my shit basket for a minute.
Please.
So they're going in the shit basket with the pagans. This gets sold as earth-based pro-Gaian spirituality.
Yeah.
Bullshit. It is not. You are not earth-based. You are not a pro-Gaian spirituality. A pro-Gaian spirituality is to forge treaty relationships with the world that you live on. I personally do not like Gordon White. I don't have a problem with Gordon White. It's just he's not my style. But I did listen to Rune Soup for like a decade.
Oh yeah.
So I put my time in. I put my time in, and he is coming on Brandon's show.
He is. And
I have interviewed him, just for the record. So yeah, props to me for that, for sure. But also, geo-regional animism, he's right about that. He's 100% right. Yeah. I'm not saying that I agree with his like faggy leftist framing of it. I don't like that. That's not my style.
Even though he's been like canceled by the right or canceled by the leftists during COVID.
That's his own problem. Because this is not just about Gordon, this is about all of them.
Yeah.
If you give the left that much power that they can fucking cancel you.
True. You were part of it and you should have never been there. That's because you were part of it. That's very true. Right. Nice. Throwing bars. Jin's dropping bars right now. It's funny. That's good. Ike drives me fucking crazy. Why would you say that, Crushin? I was saying sorry to you. I was trying to be polite. We don't need Ike. I'm a better Wallace than Ike. Yeah.
I don't hate Ike or anything.
No,
it's just
I love Ike.
The reality is like if you want to interact with those sense aggregates and in Tantra, what the lower, quote unquote, lower gods, and I don't even think in these like such hierarchical terms.
This is bullshit. Platonists don't see the world this way, and so just anytime we deem why don't they see it this way is because of they're Platonists. They're like Plato didn't talk about gods this way, and so we don't even need to deem it lesser or higher.
No.
Beyond the senses and all this thing. You know why that's wrong is because you don't understand it from reading Plato himself. You're understanding it from a bunch of Neoplatonists who they hate that term. It's a pejorative, I'm coming to find out, and I think that's fucking hilarious. But they're Platonists. There's just only Platonists low, like the early, mid, and late Platonists, and how they formulated to make it into Platonism into religious structures, because they were being annihilated at that time frame by Christians, interesting enough. And so we just got to understand how all of this stems to be understood in this nonsensical lower and higher.
Here, I'll clear it up real quick. I got a bar for you.
Dropping bars.
Okay. In Tantra, this is super simple. I'll even pull up an image. It might not be right away, but it'll be in the next 5 minutes.
We do it live.
I'll have to find one. I don't have one saved, but I'll have to find one. In Tantra, the tantric deities, meaning that the Buddhist ontological deities, stand atop the Vedic deities. Yes, you heard me correctly. The Vedic deities that everybody loves and worships, the Vedic kings. Okay? Why? Because there's number one, they're subjugated. B, number two, they are sense aggregates. They are not gods. They are misperceptions, klipas. They are also the elements, the 5 elements: earth, air, fire, water, and space. But they are unpurified. They are aggregated. They are full of bullshit. They are contained in a vessel, in a form. In Buddhism, we seek to break the vessel so it is clarified, or we at least seek to recognize the vessel as purified through our own minds. We don't look at them as lesser. We simply look at them as sort of cosmological blocks that reality is informed by, but also our reality is also informed by our own minds. So how are we understanding them, and how are we relating to them? I think understanding the deities as mental, as kind of like primordial elemental blocks that must then be resolved in Platonic shapes. This is the root essence of Tantra. We just use the mantra, we use visualization, and we might use a couple cool tools, but we are basically doing the same thing that the Platonists were trying to do.
Yeah.
We're trying to look outside the cave and see what there really is and where the light really comes from.
And if you're talking about lesser and higher gods, you're stuck within the cave still, because there only is the good and the harmonious, and then anything that is the privation of the good. So we don't even speak in this nonsensical theurgic, like Christian lens of the chain of being.
Reject theurgy.
That's
no, I'm serious. DCS even said it. He was like, I don't use the term theurgy. And I spoke to a Buddhist master, I'm not going to say who, and he was like, I don't use the term theurgy anymore either, but I used to use it because it seemed like a very useful term to explore these how magical Buddhism can be, especially Tantra. But it doesn't seem useful because people get caught up in the idea that it is becoming God. It's him or her or themselves, because Buddhist deities are usually depicted in yam together.
Yeah.
So, but I agree with that. You don't want people to get stuck. So saying theurgy, that is true, but it's not.
And the reason.
True.
Yeah, and it's not true because we got to remember where Iamblichus was stemming from with his Chaldean oracles, as well as the coming up of the theurgios or theurgy in his own way as a Platonist. It was a response to the more Gnostic Platonists of his teachers. And so I think it's really important to understand what he was trying to do. And it was important, Iamblican Platonism, because of what he was doing is he was saying, we do need the material body to be able to both descend and ascend. We need to bring the divine within us in doing these rituals and whatnot and all the ways. And so there is a level of embodiment that I do want to make sure we understand. But again, it leads itself to different orders of the ontological, phenomenological perspective of being in the world. Is that when we're in the world, that's why Platonism is so important, and not to get lost within the theurgical viewpoints of these things, because we must understand there is only the good, and then everything else is privation of that. We move amongst the forms. We become our own demiurge, our own craftsman of these forms, so we can build a material world. But in doing so, we materialize ourselves, as Iamblichus states, and in materializing ourselves, that's where evil, this strange term evil, can come from. But we want to be able to dissolve this idea of dualism, that there is this all evil. That's why we're not theists. There's not some God above us and devil below us and never the twain shall meet. That's still Cartesian nonsense. And it's an Abrahamic, it's a lie. And in being a lie, we have to know exactly where we're standing. Yes, right now we can view these things that way, but deeper we resolve our practices, why then, like Peter Mark Adams' work with his rituals and epiphanies in the mysteries of Mithras, and why Mithraism is so important, is being the backbone of this Christian Abrahamic ritual religion, that when you finally get to it, they were saying that exact same thing, which is then so important, that there is the non-dual states of awareness where Kronos lives in the golden heavens. And this is, and the lower levels of Saturn that we see are the time boundary maker, this idea of this panopticonic imprisonment that we've all kind of entrapped ourselves in, is the burning house, as we see as the Buddha states, that we must just walk out of the burning house. That's walking out of dualistic states of consciousness into the non-dualism that we're truly trying to epitomize ourselves as we bring heaven on earth, as Kether meets Malkuth, and we ascend past that into that Ein Sof Or type of...
Correct. But I want to correct that author. Maybe this is my misunderstanding of his work, Brendan, so you can correct me.
I would love to.
However, in Buddhism, we would say Mahakala is the sort of the form of Binah. That's how we would understand it. Like, you could say that's equivalent. It's cosmic time. Cosmic time must be destroyed for ontological time.
That's been Binah. Yeah, you're right. Yep. Yeah. Saturn is Binah.
I'm the best Kabbalist I know, Brandon.
yeah. Besides me,
as I quoted. It's gonna be a fucking hot tweet tomorrow.
Oh my god, I'm excited. For our DMs. Okay, move on.
Okay, moving on. I am the best Kabbalist I know. I'm just saying. If I put it out there, if someone from the Golden Dawn wants to go live with me toe to toe, I'll fucking go live. No Patreon, no nothing. Brandon can be a very neutral moderator. Yep. I won't even defer to him. I'll tell him, like, you're not my friend right now, and we'll just go.
I would love to see it.
I will challenge anyone. It doesn't matter. Temple of whatever the fuck you think you are. If you think you're a better Kabbalist than me, then let's go toe to toe live. I put the challenge on the Aether Wave right fucking now.
It's on now, so everyone reach out to the right people, and we're going to get ourselves a fucking brilliant debate.
Correct. And the Jews are going to be on my fucking side. You better watch that lightning strike is coming your way, motherfucker. That's all I got to say. Okay, but for real now. Frater RC, so Crush and Nihilism, my buddy, my friend, my pal. Crush and Nihilism. Yes, Frater RC could not stop trying to correct me, who knows David's work way better than he does. He could not help himself. Why couldn't he help himself? I don't know, because I think he's a little rigid, a little stuck in Binah, a little stuck in the Golden Dawn fucking system. David's idea is, I'm not speaking for David, but if you've read his work, you will understand. It's all about Zimzum. It's all about the Dzogchen ideas of emptiness. It's about the luminosity. It's about the rainbow vision, Togyal. He uses a lot of these dharmic concepts in his work. I'm not speaking for David, and I'm not saying that who or what has informed his work in the past, but I do know kind of. And so I understand it from my tantric perspective. And so for me, this is what I was even drawn to David's work originally, was because I understood what David was talking about. He's talking more about emptiness. Dath is something that you synthesize, forge, create inside your own mind between the sun and the moon. It arises in the secret space of Samek. Again, watch Sailor Moon. It fucking explains it all. It really does. Chibi-Usa and Sailor Pluto, just watch the series and it will tell you everything you need to know. The Crystal Millennium Kingdom. The Crystal Millennium Kingdom is the crystal castle on the moon. Sometimes you see it and sometimes you don't, because it is fucking made of crystal. But the crystal represents the truth. Sometimes we see the truth and sometimes we don't, but it is always there. How do we refer to it? We refer to it through the pink. That's why Chibi-Usa has pink hair. Pink is a spectral color. Pink does not really exist. Pink is looks like silver tinsel, sparkle. It's the Diamond Thunder Matrix. It's the ocean of stable lightnings. It is it's the flashing colors of every color. It's the 1 and the 0. It's the unification. It is it's yab yum with, if you want to say soulmate, if you have a soulmate out there, or you don't, or you haven't found them yet, or you don't believe in anything, I'm full of shit. But it's the first time that you're with them. That's what it is. It's so powerful. That's what pink is. It's the contour to revelation. It's the contour to apocalypse. It gives us meaning in the space of emptiness. And so from that space of emptiness, truth can then arise as the crown, the Queen Serena of the Crystal Millennium Kingdom. She arises with her prince, the Moonlight Knight. Damien, interestingly enough, to shout out, I know a lot of people love Damien Eccles. I think he's a weird animal killer, but that's me. Anyways, the truth is yes, Sailor Moon really does explain it all. Go watch Sailor Moon, the old one, the old version, nice. And it will explain it. You will become a good Kabbalist. Sailor Uranus in Sailor Moon, in the original Sailor Moon, is a lesbian because it's radically different. That's what the whole idea is. Okay, so this is the image. You can see this is a deity, a very, very, very special deity. I chose it very specifically. This is the sun. Ooh. Very uncommon. He's a very uncommon deity. Very few people practice this deity. But you can see under his feet, there's Brahma, there's Narayana, Vishnu, there's Shiva, there's Indra, and there's Vayu, and there's Agni, and there's all the Vedic deities. And they're all under his feet. Why? Because he resolves all of them by slaying their husks. And you can see he has his pink halo. Wow, that's really interesting after what we just said about pink. Pink is the Diamond Thunder consciousness. So it's not green. So this is another thing you'll see in tantric iconography. A lot of deities have a green halo. This means something very different than a pink halo. A pink halo represents bliss consciousness. It is beyond the green consciousness that exists in emptiness and space. Pink exists at the higher portion. It is going towards Ein Sof Or. That's the whole idea. So that's Buddhism in a nutshell. And by the way, his sword is actually called the flaming sword of non-dual gnosis.
That's what I call my sword. Besides, whatever his name. Never mind. Nice. Go on. Let's move on. And
well, I call my sword the biggest in the 3 worlds.
Polyphemus is what I was trying to come up with from the Iliad or the Odyssey. He was the one-eyed Cyclops. Doesn't matter. Nice. I wanted to bring this up too. When you were talking about Saturn and Bina, so this in Promethea, this art, by the way, is so gorgeous. How he describes Bina. So this is the Saturnalia. This is the moth of Promethea, and so she finally, after going through and loses, she hasn't found her higher self yet, and that's because her higher self, as Sophie is this Promethean character, and that's what she then looks like. And it's interesting enough talking about how the planet Saturn isn't it's of myrrh and all these different beautiful things, and so she then witnesses and gets to see Dr. John Dee up in Bina, because supposedly as a magician John Dee worked himself all the way up to Bina but never got any further. Interesting enough, as it moves forward, he talks about what Bina is all about. It's a very adept third sphere. No child, that there is understanding, and that was all of that what we sought, and so we crave no higher place. So it's very interesting that what he's getting across in this John Dee talking to Promethea is that, and I think it's something that's really important to what you and I are talking about, Jin, is what you crave in the carnal grounds, what you crave in Malkuth, in this world through your magical path. That is that is sometimes the epitome of what you're going to get. So if you're craving like this Odonic mysteries, right? Odin being this Jupiterian character, this Chokma, on the tree of life, that's as far as you'll go. So I don't understand why that's where you'd want to end, because you are missing the beauty of the path work itself. And so this is John D talking about that here, because as we're moving through, don't you remember why Plato talks about the idea that unless you know geometry, you cannot enter into these halls? And what is he talking about? It's understanding how consciousness puts itself into the world, from a point to a line to a space to a cube on forth, to create everything that we see here in the 10,000 worlds. And why I also love Taoism a lot is kind of what we talked about before in the last stream. I've talked about it with shout out Ethan Indigo, a beautiful, brilliant man. And why Tai Chi as a practice and a philosophy is, I think, one of the most epitomes of practices. And it's that learning how to balance the yin and the yang within the physically embodied consciousness that is intending itself towards the world. That you, and Heidegger calls it Dasein. And so and that's why these terms are really important as we're moving forward into understanding what it means to master your own path in the world, is that we're going to borrow from all of history at all time. And that's why I think that's another reason why I dislike this idea of chaos magic, because now it's like it's hippie, it's hip and dip and cool, and it's like, I'm a chaos magician. It's like, that's all we've ever been, is syncretic, this diaspora of knowledge through time and space as we're collecting and remembering things. And so I think that when it comes down to it, when we talk about these things, it's like I can nail in the point of why I dislike certain terms. It goes back to Sophia. It goes back to this aeon that we live within. It goes back to that fucking picture that you had up here added to the stage. It goes to destroying all husks and name and form.
Look at what SMS 717 said. Pink is interregnum reconciliation of red and white queen IMO. Yes. However, nice. You're correct, SMS, but you're also extremely mistaken. Okay, let's do a little tantric iconography. Look at the upper corner on the left-hand side. You will see the same deity in yellow, gold. This is really what the tantric color is, gold. Okay, going to the other side. So that is the chrysopia, the gold process, okay, of alchemy. So this is just about alchemy. That's all it is. Then you have the red deity, the same deity as the central figure, but he's depicted as red. This is the libido. Then you have at the very bottom, on the right-hand side, you have the deity in blue-black. Now, it is blue-black, so if you don't agree that blue and black go together, well, Tantra is probably not for you, but in Sanskrit, this makes sense. So that is the Negrito. Then you go all the way to the far left on the bottom hand, you have the white figure. This is the albedo. So this is the starting point. So I did it out of order, but it makes sense still. You can still look at it. So this is it's like a what's it called? A 5-spot pattern, just like hoodoo. You can think of it just like that. It's so simple. 5-spot pattern. You have the white, which represents, in this case, water. You have the gold, which represents the earth. You have the red that represents the fire. And you have the blue-black that represents... Oh, I'm sorry. That's not blue-black. My apologies. My bad. That is the green. I apologize. That is green. So that is the that is the greening process. My apologies.
We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. Correct. So the green is linked to the point of air. So the element of air in Tantra, this is quite different than the Western esoterica, but green is linked to the element of air. So this is the north quadrant. The green represents the north quadrant. So in the central figure, the deity, this deity, he is blue-black. So take everything I said about being blue-black and just apply it to him. He represents the element of space. So he is the reconciliation of the 5 directions, the 5 alchemical transmutations, the 5 colors, and the 5-spot mandala pattern into a single pointed one. But he's not single. He is with his consort. So together, they become diamond thunder. So that's really what the pink is. It's not just between the red queen and the white queen. It's between all 10 positionalities.
Nice. No, that's beautiful. And I mean, what did he just do? This level of like guerrilla ontology of understanding the hermeneutic nature of cosmologies and the understanding of existence. Like it's an impatterned symbol with, if you understand how the correspondences work, and you can't just lay any correspondence onto things. Colors mean something within the mythological relevance of the system itself. And so through looking at this, you can see that it's encoded for human consciousness, much like in Naruto, how if you had the correct Sharingan eye, you could look at the tablets and read them the right way and to do the infinite Tsukuyomi. So little nerd lore there. If you have the right eyes to see and the ears to hear, you will be able to witness the kingdom of heaven and God. And I want to also...
Let me say one thing. Before it goes too far.
Yeah.
Sailor Galaxia. Interestingly, you could call the consort of that deity could be a representation of Sailor Galaxia, as she represents space that is beyond confines, boundless, infinite incapacity, the galaxy ever creating, ever unfolding, like the aeon of the daughter. Because in fact, she is not the mother. She is not the Sophia. She is the actual daughter of knowledge.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And in the end, they may all merge together and become one, but it's
that's a very platonic way to consider it, Brandon. Let's not go too far with that.
In the beginning, we are all but the Ein Sof anyway, right? Nice. I was just on a podcast with William Ramsey on the Occult Rejects. Shout out Nick. Shout out the Occult Rejects. And I find this. Ethan Indigo was there with me. It was great, actually, in what we did. And so we didn't get it into the things I dislike about William Ramsey, but there are definitely a lot of it. And so saying that he is the GOAT to SMS, I think it's really fascinating how, like, we just put aside certain work in books, like his fucking Prophet of Evil, the Aleister Crowley 9/11 New World Order, a book that he has wildly profited off of, and it's completely utter bullshit. And it's so fascinating how he actually sees the occult and Aleister Crowley and everything like that. And I'm not a Crowley apologist. He also wrote the book called The Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow over Humanity, as well as other books like that. And so my thing is when people make money and lead people to believe something that then they shut their mind off towards, or that like 9/11 book is like closely leading us into some fucking Q nonsense of how Aleister Crowley is actually Barbara Bush's like Barbara Bush is Aleister Crowley's daughter, or vice versa, as well as this great beast. Yes, he had a largely impactful life on all of us. We wouldn't be here without it, but William Ramsey wouldn't have made all his money without that. And so I find him to be a shady figure that may have ties to things that it's whatever. So I just don't really quite care.
I don't like this. I am the least Damien Eccles fan you will ever find in the magical community. I don't know what he is. I don't know what he's done. I'm the first to say it. I don't know who the fuck William Ramsey is. I don't know what he's done. I don't know if what he says is true. So I say fuck them both. Yeah. That's my position. That's Jin's position. This is not a reflection of Brandon or anyone who works with me. I don't know. I do not know. I do know, however, that there's a certain cohort of parapolitical people who hate occultists, who will say the most heinous things about anyone who is associated with the OTO, with magic, with chaos magic. Like the idea that Brandon even brought up the images of the chaos magic book. If you were to go back 3 years ago, this would have gotten us canceled off YouTube, unless we were like a huge account like Justin Sledge, who, by the way, even though he'll be like, I'm not a magician. Well, no, but you are a Hasidic Jew, so you do actually study Kabbalah to a high degree, and you understand a lot of what the fucking texts are saying. Yeah. And I'm not mad at Justin Sledge. I'm just saying that, you know, there's a degree of protection by having an institutional religion. Yeah. And so we don't really have that. And so I'm not saying that William Ramsey would have been like, oh, these two guys on the internet are like promoting something bad, but there were people surrounding him and still are to a degree. It's just lessened, that make livings accusing people of doing heinous things without any proof.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yep. Yeah, and every time you say proof and like out there, it's all like Alfred Plea, what Damien Eccles did. I've actually, I've watched a bunch of that stuff because I got really into for a long time. Remember last week, Jin, where you went off on being a Barbie doll bearer?
Oh yes, the Barbie doll marker.
Yeah, he's a Barbie doll marker.
I used to call them. I'm trying to think.
Neither here nor there. You think of it. I didn't do anything like that. That's not my point. My point is
Barbie massacres.
Yeah. I'm fascinated. I was fascinated for a long time on the human mind and the psychology of serial killers and murderers and all these things, because it's like, if I didn't even know it at that time, but if you must know the darkness within, right? Not that I've ever felt that way, but I want to know the mind of people who do. And so let's watch and read and do all the things. So I dug into that guy because Damien Eccles been so influential on the occult and stuff like that. But
a lot of things he says is so normogroid.
It's so normogroid, but it's for the normie. I couldn't imagine what it was like to be in that position.
He definitely has had magical experiences.
Oh yeah.
If you want my actual, you want me to appraise Damien Eccles, yeah, he's talking about walking through the threshold, going to quote unquote death, going to Kether, bringing back knowledge, bringing back or doing something, obviously, because he got himself out of jail.
Yep.
That's a magical working. If you know anything about the Solomonic Pentacles, go watch the show on Rejects.
Yeah.
There are several Solomonic Pentacles specifically for the liberation from prison.
Yep.
It's because this is a perennial issue. So the pentacles are very practical in their concerns. I'm not saying that he is not guilty. I don't know. I just don't know.
And I think that's what we're trying to get at. This whole point is I don't know. And anybody who says they do and then writes books off of it, as well as saying how awful other people are, and not realizing that when you look in a mirror, you kind of look like a Jabba the Hutt kind of character. I'm all like, I don't know, but why should I trust you? And I think that's something that we all need to truly come to, is if you need to look in the mirror and realize that I need to qualm any parts of myself that I don't trust. And in doing so, I can have a better understanding of how humans all work in the world, and how bad it is when people lie, and the satanic panic is comes and goes. So we can't forget that is something to always be
100%.
Afraid of in some way, because it's not even always going to come from the far right. It's also coming from the left, who is going to lead us into being burnt at the stake because of their fucking Etsy rituals and all this fucking nonsense. And when you poke the bear too much, you don't poke the traditional conservatives and these people who have a lot of institutional power that running governments, because and when it comes to it, the billionaires do astrology, the millionaires don't. So the people who are in the highest levels do understand the occult and interact as sorcerers in the world. And so, so that's.
Well, I'd love to interview Jason Louv. I know.
I would too. I like Jason. I don't give a fuck.
I like
Jason. Yep.
Yes, he's a neocon a little bit, but you know
he's
what?
Got boomer politics. I don't give a fuck.
Politics, and I don't care because we wouldn't even discuss politics.
No, I would talk magic, and he's brilliant.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah. And, so shout out Jason Louv. Come on our podcast.
Come on our podcast.
Yeah.
Come on, Jason.
We would love to talk. I've sent emails. Just answer my emails, Jason. I think you're brilliant. And we agree on a lot of the same things. And so nice. I'm glad you said that, because it's true.
It's true. I like Jason Louv. I always have. I was like, he's kind of he knows what the fuck's up. He knows magic. There's no question about it.
Here. This is an easy one to answer. SMS. If Crowley said Joseph Smith was a better magician, wouldn't you take Crowley's own advice and study Mormonism? These occults are devout Lutherans or Luciferians that started with biblical foundations. I'm so grateful for all of our listeners out there. Everyone, just make sure to subscribe, and share to Jen and I, and everything, because these are the conversations that need to happen. And I find that everyone out there has just been mind virused. I don't know what it is. We're all mind virused into thinking and mistaking maps for territories and understanding signs and symbols and mistaking the finger for the fucking beauty of the moon. Is that like, what does Luciferian mean? Can you answer me that? I know we've talked about it so many times. Shout out Peter Gray again. His work is brilliant. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely a Luciferian.
That's what I'm saying. Of course we are.
But I'm not a Mormon.
I'm not a fucking Mormon. And do you know why Aleister Crowley said that? Aleister Crowley said that because he said, because this motherfucker created a goddamn religion. That's why. He's all like, wow. I mean, and Mormons aren't hurting anybody besides the deep Frankists who, like, there's pedophiles and human traffickers in every great religion.
In every religion. And also in not religion.
And in not religion.
That is part of that's not part of, I don't want to say
we don't condone any of that, but yes. That's correct. Yes, it is the darkest part of human nature.
Like we do live on the carnal ground.
Yes.
It's carnal ground activity.
Yeah.
People engage with it. It's up to you if you want to do that. I don't agree with that at all.
Of course not. Yes, and we're talking about what William Ramsey looks like. Aleister Crowley looked like that when he was really old, but he got so many women, so it's like I don't know what you're talking about.
Look, I like Jug. Jug knows I like him. Yeah. I am not saying that Damien Eccles didn't do it. Look, I don't believe courts. It's hard. I'm just like all court records. I don't believe anything.
I don't believe it.
You know what? If you were gonna ask me, like, Jin, hold like a gun to my head, please, don't do that. But if you were to do that, I'd probably say he's guilty. I don't fucking know. I would say that too. I really don't know.
I've listened to him talk, and I'm saying is like he
seems a little retarded, to be honest.
Well, we all would be if we were in fucking solitary confinement for like 20 years. And so
yeah, but he could have used that time to really become like a meditator of the mind.
And he did. I think we speak for that which we don't understand.
I don't know. Do you do like children's karate and then post it to IG? I don't know if I would do that, Brandon.
So funny. No, of course I don't. Well, I mean, people, have you seen my IG? I don't know. Do I do children's karate?
No. I used to do that when I was like 7, where you dress up in your, like, I didn't do Taekwondo. We would go in our gi and we would do sparring, little session rounds. Like and like, it's like, you're grown up, dude. Like, take Brazilian jiu-jitsu or some shit.
Yeah. And if you're going to, I mean, there are some amazing fucking samurai artists on Instagram and TikTok. And so
I'm not saying that there aren't. I'm just saying, like, you're an old man. Like, you don't need to go, like, it's not 1982. You know, like, it's not like, what's that Ralph Macchio series? Like, it's not like
Cobra Kai. This isn't true. SMS.
This isn't Cobra Kai.
No, I want you to know, Crowley. Wherever you read this about Crowley, it's not true. I highly recommend just digging into his work and reading the symbols. His friend went into a insane asylum. This is a cult. When we said it from the very first fucking podcast that we've done together in Battle Cry, we've been battle crying all over your faces. The idea is that the occult is not for everyone. Magic is for all. And the idea is that you need to train your mind. And if you don't train your mind and you dabble in powers that aren't meant to be, like in the Goetia or in the Coranzon workings or Babylon workings, you are going to know that you, and if you're ungrounded, are going to fucking lose yourself.
Yes.
Easy.
And the psychic experiences, we're going to call them psychic instead of spiritual, because they're more of your mind. The things that you will see are so ferocious, so horrendous, so insane, so without meaning. They don't have meaning. Like, I know I was being very performative, and like Odin bros all hate me now. Okay, fine, curse Odin upon me, whatever. But I'm just saying.
And Dusty's a great Taekwondo. He's one of my boys in IRL. So Dusty Wild Sea.
Awesome. What's up, Dusty? And but you know, I think that the truth is like, some of the stories about magicians and magic and what people were doing, and I'm not saying they didn't replicate it in life. There are clear times, like we brought up Gesar of Ling, or I brought up Gesar of Ling as comparison to Odin. If you read the Gesar book, you will see why he arose as a tantric sorcerer in the steppes, because his whole thing was to go around subjugating people who were worshiping demonic grandmother cults. Okay, demon cults that were sacrificing people and animals all over the steppes. I know everyone wants to be like a Scythian steppe king these days, but in reality, a lot of those people were worshiping demons and shit. And so this sorcerer came through with his keelas and his magic horse and his magic words and his army, and they subjugated that shit. That's the truth. And so you have to think of it like partly it's true, but partly it's a hermeneutic, because partly in a Merkaba journey, we're just going to use really straightforward Kabbalistic language. When you are traveling the tree, you are seeing insane things. You are seeing hellscapes. You are seeing demonic forces. You are seeing angelic forces. They doesn't necessarily mean that that's what it looks like. It's not like a Constantine comic.
They are representations.
Like, correct. Yes. Like, I don't see those things. Like, I'm saying that's what you see. I see carnal ground things. I see tantric things because I'm a tantric. So it makes sense for me to see those forms in ways that have meaning and understand my worldview.
Yep. Yeah, it's very important to know, because those are the software that you've imparted into your hardware system.
Correct. And so if you see those things, you might misunderstand those things as being quote unquote true. Those things are not true, as we just said, because how could they be? They're subjective. So people will try and replicate those, believing that they are spiritual technologies that they can then bring to Earth. But they are not spiritual technologies to bring to Earth. They are mind palace activities. They are to reconcile the polarities in your own mind. What happens in your own mind is a different reality. That's the whole point. But there is a point of unification as well, where your outside action and your internal mental action have to also be unified. So you don't want to bring anything into, as we've said, this entire 5-part series. Do not go to extremes. Try and walk the middle path. The middle path is not about centrist normism. It is about positionless positionality, meaning that you have to orient yourself to the tree according to where you are. Not where you think you are, but where you actually are and where you want to go. So if you want to climb to Ein Sof Or, you better orient yourself on the safest, quickest, and most potent path, which is, of course, the middle pillar.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean you can't veer into the other. You actually need to veer into the other. You have to, and that's the crooked path.
That's the lightning strike.
That's the lightnings. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's fascinating, and it's so easily to forget that the lightning path is the path of the magician as we climb up all 10 Sephirah to find the spheres. And we in our actual experiential life, I think we go through a sphere. That's why the Golden Dawn and that's why the AA has put in grades upon paths, because as you go through them, what is but a grade? But something that you've learned along the experiential routes of using magic in your daily life.
Who are these people? This is what my question is. This is a very chaos magic. I'm having a very Jin sort of existential crisis while we're recording. But I'm being serious. Like, who the fuck are these people? Like, I can imagine it in my mind. You're standing in this, like, basically, like, what is a church or a Masonic basement, and it's like all fucking like 1980s like drapes all over to keep out light, and you've got tape on the fucking floor, candles everywhere, and they're doing the fucking recitation. Oh, what is your will, Frater? And they're touching your like shoulder with the sword. Like, what the fuck is any of that?
Sounds pretty gay to me.
It really does. Well, I don't know about gay, but it sounds absolute retardational. And like, I don't understand how that is helping you rise in consciousness. That is not even conferring you an empowerment. That's not what an empowerment is. Empowerment comes through Vok. That's how a tantric really understands. Yes, I agree. Be a ninja, Brandon, worship Hatsumi. Okay. Based. Okay, great. But I'm saying that empowerment actually comes through sound. It comes through the ability to recite the mantra and then a lesson around the mantra. This is a very deep tantric idea. So someone touching your fucking shoulder and giving you and asking you to recite this like rote formulation of like some kind of neo-Gnostic like responsorial psalm That is not raising you in consciousness. That's not giving you an ability to get higher. Now, I am not suggesting that all like for profit or not for profit, but you have to pay initiations are quote unquote worthless. But if you are asking my opinion, I think in 2026, the best way to serve yourself is learn fucking good Buddhist meditation. That also means, that probably doesn't mean Normi Mahayana, but of course, if you're going to learn Normi Mahayana meditation, you also need to understand that it's not about the dogmatism. It's not that you have to, I would say be Buddhist, but also be like me. Be Buddhist and be a KO at the same time. Be a tantric on the carnal ground, a monkey king on the carnal ground.
Yeah, I hear that.
You know, it's like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Are we really going into the Masonic basement, fucking hoods up, like pretending that is like the spiritual technology? Hello, we carry black cube matrices in our pockets at all times. I've had crazy psychic experiences with people on the internet. You're going to tell me that our phones are not fucking magic? Motherfucker, those things are magic. So let's stop it. Let's quit it with the fucking pretenses of dancing around someone's Masonic basement, or the opposite, reading left-hand path text on fucking Internet Archive and pretending that that is some kind of truth as well.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
That is wisdom science, and it is just as bullshit as every other kind of wisdom science. It is just as bullshit. The truth is the truth. The truth is the primordial reality of the world is that we are infinite in our capacity for loving kindness, Hesed, because Jupiter is an infinite force. But we have to take of that force and then apply it to the tree in a verticality. So that's what it is. So I would say, you know, go in loving kindness, go in Diamond Thunder, and go in non-duality, and you will be best served.
Yeah,
and you know, and if you want to say that I don't know, I don't fucking know. I don't have all the answers to the universe, but I'll tell you what, I do understand Tantra to a degree, and I'm the best fucking Kabbalist that I know.
Yeah, I mean, there you go, Don DeMarco, that shit. I mean, it's as real as it gets. And it goes back to everything we've been saying through this whole time, and all this whole 4 or 5 part series is that we
SMS. Are you trolling me?
I know.
I just want to ask, because like this is my last one for a while, because there's someone from the Austin Wade Picard's like circle, his podcast, who has been kind of like, I would say fucking with me, cyber fucking with me. That sounds really dirty, but I don't mean it like that. I just mean like psychologically.
I don't know. So
I just wonder like why you bring that up. Anyways, it's interesting. We can leave it there.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know who that is, nor do I give a fuck. It's the interesting thing is I don't need to know about or read that podcast. I've done enough deep dives into what all that is. The satanic panic underbelly of things. It doesn't ever go away, that panic, and that panic is because of we're mistaking the map for the territory, and you're eating a fucking menu when the meal's in front of you. And in this day and age, the meal in front of you is fake too. So if you're fucking going home and eating fucking McDonald's and blizzards and nerds and all this bullshit, that you're going to be stuck within the matrix, and then none of this magic is even going to work. And if it does, it's going to be accepted by the egregoric Yog Sothoth, these ancient old ones that are trying to make you fat, make you lame, and make you gay. And so it's like, and it's not even homosexual gay, it's just like super lame. I'm from the early 90s, and so just,
I mean, I don't really you can use who cares? I do want to say one last thing. Crush nihilism. I'm much more of a meditate in the woods at night or the graveyard kind of Odin. That's fine. You're just presencing Odin. No big deal. You could do that in your bedroom. You could do that on the toilet. You could do that anywhere.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Those aren't places of personal power for that, because you're not understanding like the ontological grounds. That's what I would say to that. Because there are Buddhist practices you can say if you're feeling ill, like if you have a stomach flu and you're sitting in the washroom, there are mantras you can recite to help purify your body.
course.
That's like understanding the ontological ground that you sit on. You're just going to liminal spaces that you think are associated with the deity that you constantly presence. You should try doing Maha Yoga, where you actually build the deity through visualization on one of their ontological grounds, and or go to a haunted house and instead of evoking Odin, try and build the visualization of the deity there, the actual deity, not just what appears to you. You see, there's a huge difference. There's an intellectual, there's an IQ issue, skill issue, as the kids say. One is much harder, but also more powerful. So that's all I'm going to say tonight about Odin.
Nice. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, Jin, we've crushed for almost 3.5 hours.
Yeah, we went for it.
I think we went for it. And what's beautiful about this conversation,
blazing days of glory,
is that when you go out and you go out hard, there's always more left unsaid, which is why this is not the end. It's I'll see you soon. And it's
a parting of swords at the crossroads. We're right at the end of Samurai Champloo. They all go in 3 different directions, but they are to meet again. That's the whole point.
That's the whole point. That is the whole point. And it's beautiful. And on this journey, we Jin and I will still be cohorting on the underground. So we will still be mixing of ways in many ways, both being part of the rejects, but both being friends, true and dear. And so I'm so grateful for this whole conversation because it's a really important one. It's interesting enough when trying to come up with topics, these natural riffings of topics kind of come out and arise, especially because I believe we live in the age of grifters, charlatans, and false teachers and fakes. But it's like what I'm always trying to get at is this age has not ever ended. There's always sophists everywhere. And as long as we understand that the human person is imperfect, that you realize that charlatan and that fake guru is the one staring at you in the mirror. And I think once we can take the sword of reason to ourselves, is the sooner we can use the cup of compassion to be able to understand how to move through the world with our intuition, that wand, and how to gain and be able to truly have a foundation in all things. So it's quite fascinating, the world we live into, because this is a conversation that's never going to end. It's actually going to rise all the time, and we're just trying to help give the tools for you from the mind palace into your brains and the words that you use and who you are choosing to buy from or put your attention towards, because your awareness and your intention is everything that everybody wants. That's what you want, right?
Look, I don't expect anyone to listen to me. I'm like the worst content creator in that way. I hope what I say is fucking quote unquote based. I hope it's fucking Diamond Thunder. That's what I hope. I hope it has a spark of the primordial truth. I hope other people can see it. I hope it exists at the 3 layers of reality, at the Sambodhi Gaia, the twilight layer. I hope people can see that my show is a way to cross the first gate of Malkuth and like onto Yesod and maybe even cross into Dath eventually. I think that I've brought a really interesting aeonic framework to the internet when no one was fucking talking about it, no one was interested in it, and it had basically died. Like the daughter, she was forgotten. Like that's kind of her story too, is that she's always forgotten. So I think that I think in terms of like what I feel like I've done as a magician on the internet, a meta magician, a chaot, a dharma chaot, I think that I have done some cool shit, and I think that your career is just starting, Brandon, and I think that I have to focus on the Grey Lodge, which needs me more than ever, and also Threshold Saints. And Threshold Saints was always my project. It was always like, where was I going after I did that Kabbalah Mahavijja series, the 11-part series that was kind of epic on a show called Subconscious Realms, and I didn't really know what I was even going to talk about. I was like, I don't want to talk about parapolitics. That was a big part of like what my show started as. I was like, I'm not discussing parapolitics. I'm not into it. I don't feel comfortable or confident talking about it. And I do feel confident and comfortable talking about Kabbalah, Kino, Tantra, Buddhism in general. And like, let's start out with those concepts. And then I've expanded and built upon it from there. And I just kept it lo-fi. I knew what I wanted to do pretty much the whole time, even though I am very chaotic as a person. But I knew that I wanted to do like a Brooklyn, millennial, esoteric zine kind of thing, but I just did an audio e-zine instead of it being in print, and so that's what it represents. It's like it's my path working. It's my aeonic love story, if you want to call it that. It's very romantic, but yeah, I'd call it that. And it's like how I met pretty much everybody that I regularly interact with. So, and I like all these important and. It's not that they're important in the world as worldly people, but they're important to me. So that's, but what I want to say is I've met like other important connections through the show, through guests, people that have come on as like authors or like elder magicians or elder kinds of philosophers or thinkers, and not just elder ones, but just like people who also are my friends. Sometimes some of my favorite episodes are those. So my whole show is magic. Like every single thing that I do, the way I number the show, the way I release the show is chronopoetic. The title cards are Kabbalistic. I make sure that the title matches the colors, the image, the theme of the show. So I try and treat everything like it's magic. And so, especially when we're online. And so that's what I loved when you asked me to come do this. We didn't really know what it was going to be or what we were going to do with it. We didn't have a name. But I feel like Ursula Le Guin always says, like, you have to give things their true name. You have to, resurrect things through their true name. And so the battle cry is what this show became. Hopefully I'll return and be asked to return. But even if not, and I'm not saying that as like it's not like a fish hook. I'm not trying to like be like snag some more podcasting opportunities. I'm just saying that even if not, the genesis of what this was like a kind of spitfire place to talk about the problems of contemporary institutional magic and also how we understand reality. Like my presence on this show doing this series was a KO presence. I specifically came from that perspective, knowing that is that's not the way you view reality. And that's okay. And what we should be doing, as you said, is these platonic discourses where we don't necessarily agree, where we sort of we can test each other in both the discursive fire of Gevra and the cold fire, the lightning, you could say, of Hesed. And it requires both of those things. And then that's what reveals Tiferet. So I just think it's interesting. I want to answer crush and nihilism. Jin, is that like the Golden Dawn god forms? No. I don't like any of the Golden Dawn stuff. I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to cock block Brandon having any guests on it. I'm seriously not. I'm saying, like, if anyone has a problem with anything I said, like, sincerely take me up on my offer to. We don't even have to debate. We could discuss on a live. I'd be more than happy to cordially discuss my issues with the Golden Dawn with anyone from the Golden Dawn on a live. But of course, we would get fucking thousands of views if you debated me live on Kabbalah. I'm just saying it would be cool. But I'm also saying that I'm open to other forms of dialogue. So I don't like any of the Golden Dawn stuff. But we call it, there's 3 stages. So you have it's called outer generation, where you're projecting the deity as arising in front of you. You have self-generation, which you don't need to worry about. And then you have perfection and completion stage, or completion and perfection stage. So those don't even worry about those at all. So basically, it's fine to project the deity in front of you, but see, like my test for people who consider themselves quote unquote pagans is take an easy god form like Green Tara or Medicine Buddha and project that in front of you every day for 30 minutes a day, keeping the form alive, keeping the form present, keeping the color luminous, including all the iconographic details, having the the moon disk or the sun disk or however the deity that you pick arises, have it be that exact thing and not having any mistakes. Then when you're able to presence that, then offer the deity water in the mind palace, then offer the deity incense in the mind palace. That does not exclude you doing it on the outside. But I'm just saying that you should also be able to do it on the inside if you're so good.
That's what you should be doing, because that's what the astral temple is for. It's fantastic. I also excuse me, everyone. I also want to state this. I'm just going to answer this really quickly. It's a really tough thing when we try to understand people, because one of his wives, Rose Kelly, was already an alcoholic and had issues, and left her husband for Aleister Crowley. And so it's fascinating how fast we want to make beasts out of us all and not understand the history and the place and the time of things. And so it's like, I don't know what it meant to go to mental institutions in that time frame. You know what you're getting into when you start being with an individual who calls himself the Great Beast and is part of the Golden Dawn in the early 1900s, Edwardian age, late 1800s, this Cambridge guy who was rebelling against all systems. And so you choose to latch on to this person for one reason or another. And so I'm not an apologist of Aleister Crowley. I think one of the issues was that people turned Thelema into a Crowleyanity, and he was directly trying to not do that, or was he? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But the idea is that, and you're right, Googling isn't research. Fact checks aren't real. Like all this is such exoteric surface level stuff. All you have to do is read his work and understand that there are practices that he's trying to divulge to the people that you can do to master your own path. And there's his work and many, many others. So I don't really quite care for the Theosophists and their things, but Helena Blavatsky did some great things. She also did some terrible things, as in just thoughts. It's just whatever. We're all flawed individuals. And when we build up these straw men, or we build up these demagogues, these gurus and these charlatans and these false teachers, because even Aleister Crowley was a false teacher. And when it comes down to it, everything is a false teacher, because there is only one teacher, right? There's only the Buddha. There's only this Ein Sof, or there's only the world that you're living within. And that teacher is everything around you. And that teacher is the master who makes the grass green. That individual within yourself who says, I'm the best Kabbalist around. Anyone can debate me. It is that part of yourself that you qualm in the fires of severity, and also and just make sure that they're also wet in the like the waters of mercy, which is then why two people like Jin and I, who obviously get along in many ways and agree on so much, can have such a fiery conversation and really realize that I know that I have stemmed my pathwork from a lot of chaos magic, and we live on the shoulders of giants, but these giants must be slain. They must be slain for the new age and the new aeon, because unless we do these things, people like the great Donald, Netanyahu, Winnie the Pooh, which is like, the Chinese guy, who runs China, Putin, these are just the Illuminati is not outside of yourself. It's you and your closest people. There are people who run the world, but if you give them all your power, they will give that power to the egregores that are truly trying to break into this system. And you don't have to do that any longer. And so that's my little stint on what's going on and how we can just finally break free from the systems that have enslaved us, no matter what they are, because it's time for the institutions to dissolve, because we're reaching a new spring, and that's what the Aeon of Sophia is all about, right?
Yes. Beautiful. Spring. That's exactly right, Moteki.
It's beautiful.
100%. And Crush and Nihilism. Thank you, bro, for being such a great sport. I know I was very fiery, but I appreciate everyone in the chat who came. And yeah, you should.
You should. I like that book. I hope, and that's where I'm coming.
Totally.
Yeah.
And
I like
I'm very multi-source. It's totally fine. I've had some issues with the GD bros, but whatever. That doesn't mean that everything that they say is bad. But yeah, try that. Try a white Tara
or a green Tara or a medicine Buddha. Don't go for some crazy deity. Trust me. Don't. You won't. I mean, do whatever you will, but I would say do whatever you will. But go for an exoteric deity first. You'll have more success. Even if you want to go more esoteric, like a 11-headed Avalokitesvara. That's very magic, right? That's very like 11 Sephira. So you might as well, you can try one of those. If you want to go more lion-headed, you could go Avalokitesvara with the lion head, Naram Simha. Yes, that's a Buddhist deity too, Naram Simha. It can be understood like that. So you could try one of those if you want something really ferocious. But those are the safer, keep to the outer exterior density. You don't want something so crazy you don't know what to do. Because I'm not your guru. I can't help you. I can't get you unstuck, right? Like I got asked, like, I think Young Stitches was like, can you help me move higher? No, I can't, but I can tell you the ways that I do. Beautiful. And I also want to say about gurus. Look, there are different kinds of teachers for different kinds of people. Some people will have a lot of good karma and they will come across many excellent teachers on the marga. Ultimately, it doesn't matter how many good teachers you have if you do not develop a self-reflexivity, which we in Buddhism and Tantra, we would call the Mahakala, the time king. That's not you, but it's something that you can sort of self-refer internally to yourself. So even I think that is what like the book Brandon brought up, like about like the time king existing in the golden age, you could actually sort of understand that through a tantric way and say, yeah, like the time king is the master of all the material realms of form. So we need to like cultivate that inside ourselves. And then when we can get to that space of our minds, that non-dual emptiness, yeah, we can go talk to him, quote unquote, talk to him. What does that look like? Well, it'll be different for different people. Is the truth. But we'll have to be self-reflexive. Hey Jin, what's your opinion on Hinayana? So I'm gonna break with my Dharma bros on the internet and say that for me, Hinayana seems more like a hindrance, to use a pun that I love. I love making wordplay, but I feel like Hinayana is often a hindrance for people to understand Tantra. So this isn't necessarily, I'm not saying Hinayana is bad or Hinayana is a Buddhism is inferior, but I think this is like this aeon to me is psionic. So I think people need to be learning magical deities. Well, the thing with crush and nihilism is that if you stick with the Germanic deities, then you're not really translating what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's why I don't fucking understand. Crushing, bro, you can't. This is two different. This is East meets West in your nervous systems, and so like you can't continually. It's really hard to compartmentalize these things. So it's not like moving from one to the other.
Try to green Tara, but like the thing is not about presencing like every deity. The thing is can you hold the okay? Can you do green Tara 30 minutes a day for 6 weeks? Perfect iconography. Can I hold a Tonka, a master Tonka, not some bullshit Etsy Tonka, a master Tonka? Can I hold the Tonka up to your visualization and does it hold water? That's the test.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, definitely.
Does she come alive? Because I'll tell you a deep secret of inner visualization of the deity. The Tonka might look static if you're looking at it, but actually if you're a skilled meditator, like a skilled tantric, the Tonka actually comes alive. And in your mind palace, the deity should also come alive. Because if you're reading the actual sadhana, the actual Buddhist practice, not just doing whatever you want, imagining this aggregate or this aggregate, why would you want to imagine yourself as an aggregate? Ugh. Like klipas, like we don't worship klipas. Anyways, so you are the deity is alive because you are doing the practice. You are in the presence of them. So that is what you're doing. So Tara is the element of air, green Tara. She is the composite element of all three elements, 3 in 1 or 1 in 3. So very Hasidic. And she clarifies all cliches and all poisons. So If you go and do green Tara successfully, then why are you going to go back and like clutter your mind with a aggregated deity? I don't know. I wouldn't, but that's me. You can do what you will.
Do as thou wilt.
Yeah, do as thou will. Psionic Aeon.
I love that.
Aeon of the motherfucking Scions.
And I'm not an apologetic. I know you just said that, and it's fine that you think that. I'm just giving
Look, magicians are crazy. What Brandon said was not bad. Every person involved, I wanted to say this. Every person in the occult is fucking weird. We're all madmen. It is what it is. Suck it up, Buttercup.
We're all mad.
Pull your pants up. Don't sag your boxers like I do. Don't smoke weed, kids.
Like
don't
we do.
Read bad books. Don't play video games. Don't watch R-rated movies. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's 2026. Every magician. This is okay. So there's two parts to this, really quickly. One is self-narration, autopoiesis, telling the world who you are. If your whole shtick, I'll be very Jewy. If your whole shtick is to be like, I'm the beast, 666, I'm Tiferet, I'm the dragon. Okay, well then don't you want your mythology to sound kind of sinister? Yeah. If your mythology is, oh, I'm Saint Madame Blavatsky, I have psychic powers. Well, then that also fits her.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. You want it to be like, you can't take any of it too seriously. Secondly, a lot of the women that Crowley was involved with were dakinis. Like, that's how I would understand it. Yeah. They were dakinis, and you're going to be like, well, what are you talking about, Jen? Like, they weren't like red colored sky wives.
They were scarlet women. That's what he called them.
That's right.
He called them.
They were dakinis.
They
were
knew that.
Dakinis. And they were able to channel. I'm not saying channel as in like speak for. No. Channeling for dakinis is very different. We won't get into it today, but it's very subtle. But that's what he was doing. I think actually Crowley probably preferred, he was more, I don't want to say homo-romantic. That's not really the word, but I think he preferred men. Yeah. I think that the women were to serve a metaphysical purpose. I'm not saying that as in like a pejorative. So I would just say that everyone around Crowley is a madman. Yeah. Because Crowley's a madman, because magic makes you crazy. It does. And only crazy people want to do magic. That's the reality. So you have to give allowance for people who are crazy magicians to be a little weird in the world.
Because it's crazy to try to understand your own existence. Existence as such, not even just yours. What is the is of all things? What does it mean to be? So, yeah, I agree. Beautiful. Beautiful, Jin. Tell them where they'll find you in this beautiful world.
Well, you can find me on thresholdsaints.substack.com, youtube.com/@the-true-grey-lodge, which is TRVE Grey Lodge. And of course, we will have our regular scheduled Wednesday episode, and we are starting a series called, I'll say it. It's called Weird Boys. So that will air alternatively on Fridays or Saturdays, depending on availability, to our Friday night Gnostic Mass. So we will have that going. Yes, the Grey Lodge is still going strong. We're revamping. We're in a transitional period, but it is an axial age after all. And if I am indeed the scion of the daughter, then her arrow is with us, pointing us in the right direction. So hopefully that is true. And you can find me on X at Wukong Reborn, WUKONG Reborn, or on Threshold Saints at Threshold Saints on Spotify, or not Spotify, on Twitter, X, and IG, and of course Spotify and Apple, and on the Rejects, on Brandon's show. And I just did an episode with Esoteric Archives, so I don't know.
Yeah, shout out them. They're great.
Yeah, shout out them. But yeah, it's just like that. There you go. So I'm really all over the internet. I've done maybe thousands of shows now, just being honest. And I've at least done many hundreds. And it's not like a brag or anything.
Not just like
No, it's not a brag, because what does it mean in the end? It doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything.
But it is
just
cool.
Put out content, get your voice out there, because the public square needs us.
Correct. So my whole project was to push the aeon of the daughter. So if that idea is in the aether wave, and it is, because multiple people believe it, multiple people know that I'm actually talking about, whether they believe me or not, whether they think I'm full of shit or not, they know. Some people know. Enough people know, even if it's just Cassandra. So just say it's my Skywife. No, I'm serious. But if it's just Cassandra, and she's the only one who thinks I was ever worthwhile on the internet, that had anything to say. Like, I'm not saying me as the only one. I'm just saying, if she thought Anne of the Daughter was meaningful and she actually believed it, and it was only her that believed it, I would be okay with that. It could live on through her. But I'm glad if more people believe it, because I actually do believe it myself.
I love it. So it's a great mythopoetic understanding.
That's where I am.
Cosmology.
I'm in the space of the flower, the fire, and the flowers.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jin. This has been a pleasure. Like I said, I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm just going to say see you next time. Because this is not the end. I will be doing some work. Kaiva is most likely going to be coming on here, and it'll be her and I bantering on. Her and I have very similar banter to Jin. Obviously, her energy is going to be different, but man, does she bring the fire. You're going to see it here when she really gets tapped into these things. Probably be bringing on Nick as well, because I want to pull him into and he really fledging out the way he sees certain things, because I find him to be fascinating as well. And I think he would be really fun to bring on Magus in the media late nights here, as well as other people. Ethan Inigo and I are going to be doing some stuff. I've reached out to Robbie Marks. I think he's a diamond in the rough. I really like Robbie Marks and the way he sees things. And it's fascinating, old school hippie, but brilliant artist. He's got different things to do with just a lot of stuff in the 60s and 70s and more, as well as I have. Yeah, the further we go, I'll be like calling that raising that bat signal and bringing Jin the Ninja back on, because of the world just needs more fire. It needs that lightning strike down to the ground, so we can or up from the ground up to the sky, meeting in the middle, destroying all things. So we can rebuild.
Well, Threshold Saints, needs my attention, but I am always game. And of course, the Grey Lodge. The Grey Lodge has always at some points seems secondary to me, but it's never been secondary to me, because I have met incredible people through that, and it allowed me to grow my show, like to grow Threshold Saints, and to allowed me to bring on other co-hosts to that show. So I'm just going through a period of rectification, as I said. Synthesis and rectification has to go into those. So the Big Daddy, the Sky Daddy, has to, captain the ship with his other 3 Sky Daddies. I guess we have 1 Sky Mommy, Eros, and 2 Sky Daddies, Joshua the Branch and Solar Exile. So let us get that ship into rectification. Let me get Threshold Saints into synthesis, into reproduction. Beautiful. And then we can talk about a return to the battle
great cry. Return to the battle cry. Brilliant. I'm going to be excited for that. I'm also, my interview's coming out. Gordon White, David Beth of the Black Pilgrimage, who's the owner, a part owner of the Theon Press, both Scarlet Imprints, Elkistis, and Peter Gray, which I find to be fantastic and phenomenal individuals. I'm currently setting up an interview with the great Lama Baba, Lon Milo Duquette, coming on in the next few weeks. I'm so excited for that. That's a guy I've been wanting to talk to for a long time. He and David Shoemaker are, I think, good people to read and listen to in this world, no matter what. There's going to be others, and we're going to be going deep with everybody. I'm going to start bringing on some random. I'm going into the sci-fi spheres. I'm going into the fantasy worlds. We're bringing them all, and we're all meeting here. Professors Danielle Lynn is coming on, and she's fantastic. We're going to be going deep into Plato. Magus in the Media is here to break it all down, and we're going to get it. We're going to get it good. Myth, magic, and meaning in the world. Thank you, everybody out there. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and share to Magus in the Media on all the things, to Jin, Threshold Saints, and the Grey Lodge. The Occult Rejects. That's how I met Jin. Shout out Nick, and I'm so grateful for it and everything that has helped bring as well. So just realize in this world of falsities and illusions that there is truth and it does matter. And so thank you, Jin. Thank you for the evening. This has been a great conversation.
It was fucking sick. I hope everybody's mad at me. I hope I go back to Twitter and they're like, what the fuck did you just say? Okay, bring it on, Naga. Let's go.
Bring it on, Naga. Let's go. Yeah, let's go. And that's we're bringing the fire. So if you have anybody that you fucking reach out, tell them we're here to bring the sword. So let's do it together. Everyone, have a beautiful evening and good night.